episodes and a one-off special of Ty's favourite moments. All day, Easter Monday on UK TV Style.
This April, meet the chefs who are risking it all for food. The stakes are high, and they're gambling with their future.
You always did say you'd divorce me if I had a restaurant. I've spent totally nearly 600 grand.
They risk losing it all if it fails. Heaven's Kitchen, tonight at 9 on UK TV Food.
Now on People, accident and emergency for the next hour as we lift that receiver and dial 999.
All of tonight's rescues are true stories. We've sometimes used actors or stuntmen, but everything you see and hear is based on the accounts of the people involved. They've helped us to reconstruct events as they happened. Today there are few clues left to the importance that this wharf used to have as a busy trading centre on the River Trent at Newark, one of the few rivers in the world, incidentally, that flows from south to north. These days the people in these houses find it peaceful living close to the water. It certainly holds no attractions, though, for one Nottinghamshire couple. In fact, Douglas Gascoigne had spent the last 25 years avoiding the water at all costs. But one cold February night, he and his wife Rachel lived through their worst nightmare. In Annex Reconstruction, Douglas and Rachel are played by actors, but everybody else takes part as themselves.
Mr. Gascoigne had a laryngectomy performed some 20 to 25 years ago. This sort of surgery is performed for people who have cancers of their larynx. This is in the region of the throat, around where the voice box is. On yourself, you'll find it approximately where your Adam's apple is. If I can show you a model of someone's throat, when people have cancers in this area, one of the options for treatment is in fact to surgically remove the whole of this area. And consequently, an artificial passage is created through the front of the throat, below the area that's removed for the cancer. This means that on yourself you'd land up with a hole coming out of your throat in this sort of region. And I think probably the most obvious thing that people notice is the loss of the ability to talk.
Well, we had always understood that water was really the end, because the water would enter straight into the lungs from the hole in his Doug's throat, and therefore he would drown. The evening of February the 11th, we were going out to dinner with some friends, and we'd never been to their house before.
Oh, right. Well, how do you fancy carousel? Some at the National.
Yes, right.
Yes. Well, you like musicals?
I fancy it.
Yes, yes, I do.
We arrived at the wharf and started to look for the house. Christopher, my son, dropped us off. It was very cold. It was very dark. It's very badly lit. The area is very badly lit. And we were looking for the house and discussing where it was. And obviously when you do that, you start together. And then one thinks it's going to be one way, and the other one thinks it's going to be the other.
Now, where are we? What number did you say you lived? 11. So what number's that?
That's 14.
14. Well, what number is
So
that?
we were busy searching for this house, and we could find every number
10.
nearly. But the right number...
That was number 12. So where the hell is number 11?
The numbers on the houses weren't, or didn't seem to us to be consecutive. So we split up slightly.
Look, you go down there, and I'll go and have a look round here. All right?
Yes, all right.
It's a wretched place.
Doug? Doug!
I heard an enormous splash. And it was as if I was living in Never Neverland. I couldn't believe it could possibly have happened.
Oh, my God.
I rushed to the edge, and there, on the surface of the water, was Doug. And I was just absolutely horrified.
Rachel did all she could to attract attention, but she knew that help wouldn't come quickly enough for Douglas.
I thought, I can't jump in, I must jump in and try and save him. He must, even if he's going to drown. No, I tried. I've got to have that. I could never go on living knowing that I hadn't done everything to save him.
I'm coming! Where are you?
I caught hold of him, I think, on the way down, but I don't really know how. When I got him, I can remember trying to struggle to the surface and thinking, we're both going to drown down here. I can't get back up, and I mustn't let go of him. I realized somehow from the back of my memory that Doug had got all his clothes on, and I couldn't get rid of them. But if I got rid of my cardigan, I would be lighter and I might be able to surface. And then, after that, in fact, we came to the surface very, very easily.
I'll get you off!
Rachel's cries for help were heard by Richard Morris.
Hold on, I'll get a rope. Mum, dial 999.
My immediate thoughts were that there was very little hope. I mean, I was fairly convinced that I was holding a dead body. But having said that, I knew that I had to keep holding him until someone came, just on 1% chance that he could be alive.
Grab hold of the rope.
Oh, thank you. All right.
It took just 7 minutes for the fire brigade to arrive. All the time, Rachel had been fighting to keep Douglas afloat and increase his chances of survival.
Is he dead?
I do remember yelling and yelling and yelling once I knew everybody was there, that he got a tracheostomy, that it was a laryngectomy, that they must treat him totally differently, that he didn't breathe from his mouth, that he breathed from a hole in his throat, that I thought he was dead, but, you know, he drowned and he got a lot of water in him.
Douglas's lungs had filled with river water, and his brain was now in danger of being starved of oxygen. He was very close to death.
Have you swallowed any
No, I'm all right. Please look after my husband.
We've got a strike victim here. We fetched him out of the river. Okay. No sign of anything.
I was about to extend his neck and start doing some resource when his wife was taken out of a Trent, and she shouted across to me, "It's Dougie Gascoigne. He's got a..." And I knew straight away, because I know of the guy, that he got a tracheostomy. So that he wouldn't be resuscitated as normal through the mouth.
They used a bag and mask resuscitator placed over the hole in Douglas's neck to get some oxygen into his blood.
Mr. Gascoigne was quite cyanosed, blue, as we could see him laid there. And you just go into a set routine of working. We attempted, 3 or 4 of us, to actually turn Mr. Gascoigne upside down to get some water out of him. He's a big chap, but we had a reasonable amount of success at this.
It was a chance in a million that the ambulance crew was so well prepared.
That morning when I came into work, I was actually given a leaflet that is given out by the British Tracheostomy Association on how to resuscitate tracheostomy patients, and I commented to Station Officer Barbara about, we don't get one of these in a blue moon, do we? And there I was 6 hours later, we were actually dealing with one.
Right, it has got an output, I've got a rhythm, all right? I've got a sinus rhythm.
Great.
Can I have 2
We clipped him from the monitor at this point, and the best place to be was on the back of the vehicle.
Although the ambulance crew had succeeded in getting Douglas breathing again, there was still less than a 5% chance of him surviving without brain damage.
The risks that I saw following his admission was that he was very likely to die within a number of hours of admission. In other words, our treatments would not be able to work. If he survived this period, I had real fears of his death a few days later as a result of multiple organ system failures from the lack of oxygen. And if he survived all those events, then due to the period of time that he'd been lacking oxygen, I thought it very likely he could have severe brain damage. Oh, Diane, how's Douglas getting on?
He's actually quite stable at the moment.
Douglas was kept unconscious for 8 days in intensive care at Lincoln Hospital, in which time his condition gradually improved.
There's quite a bit coming up, but it's fairly...
Miraculously, he proved the doctors wrong. He'd beaten all the odds. He'd suffered no permanent brain damage.
When I remember thinking, what a way to die. My achievements, and I remember probably a few seconds after that. And then I must have gone unconscious, and I remember nothing till I woke up, or gradually came to a week later in hospital.
When Mr. Gascoigne had been in intensive care for about 6 days, as part of the routine care that he was receiving from the nursing staff, he had his hair washed. And it was very dramatic. The moment that water touched his head, he fought, and he fought hard. And having talked to Mr. Gascoigne since then, he was very frightened at the time that he was back in the river again. In retrospect, it was a clear message that his brain was working extremely well.
Douglas went on to make a full recovery.
It was the most wonderful experience on Saturday when we had our first really coherent conversation together, and to realise that I was still married to the same man. In fact, who wanted to know what had been happening everywhere, and where was Emma with the market report and the market figures and what was happening here. And all of a sudden, we knew it was no different.
She's just a child. But Amy is left to fend for herself at night. He's just a child. So Charlie gets scared when his mum is drunk and violent. For children who suffer abuse and neglect, the world is a frightening place. But if you give £2 a month to the NSPCC, you can help stop the abuse and protect them from harm. They're just children, and they need your help. Please call 08000 32 32 20 or go online and give £2 a month to the NSPCC.
What's your outlook for getting a loan?
My credit rating isn't very good. Can I still get a loan?
I'm retired. Where do I go for a loan?
We want a large loan to pay off all our debts.
I want an interest rate that suits me. Hello, Norton Finance. Can I help you?
Whatever type of finance you require, here at Norton, we consider all circumstances. We could help you to consolidate your existing credit into one loan, and you could still have money left over for other things. This is Gareth. He's one of our customer account managers who ensures you receive your loan as quickly as possible. And we have people like Kimberly who will process your application. So whatever you need to raise money for, call us now on 0800 043 1030. Our trained and friendly staff are here waiting for your call.
So call Norton Finance now on 0800 043 1030.
Looking for a more satisfying career, a job that offers real freedom? Then become a driving instructor with the Instructor College. You don't have to worry about qualifications. If you've got a driving license, that's all you need to start your instructor training. You can learn around your current job or family commitments. And once you've qualified, you're free to choose your own flexible working hours. So leave your 9-to-5 routine, become your own boss, and enjoy the security of a guaranteed placement scheme with earnings of up to £30,000 a year, plus a fully maintained car. Free phone the Instructor College now on 0500 17 0017. We're waiting to take your call.
Today, we're looking for even cheaper car insurance. We all know that it's a real jungle out there.
Is that?
Yes, that could be the sound of even cheaper car insurance.
It's elephant.co.uk. We can go online, get a quote in minutes, and see how much we could save. Well, let's go. Elephant.co.uk.
For even cheaper car insurance, it's elephant.co.uk.
Please, call 08000 32 32 20 now and give £2 a month to the NSPCC.
If it gets bad enough, I think that we're all capable of suicide.
Suicide, Thursday at 10, only on UK TV documentary.
It really was the most remarkable coincidence that on the very day that Douglas needed help, the ambulance crew who came to his aid had been reading this leaflet. It's produced by the National Association of Laryngectomy Clubs, which offers this advice on how you can help somebody like Douglas, one of 10,000 people in this country who can't breathe through their nose and their mouth.
If you come across someone who's stopped breathing, lie them on their back and loosen any clothing around the neck. This will let you see if their chest is moving, as well as confirming if they're a neck breather who needs to be resuscitated in a special way. As we saw in Douglas's accident, if you suspect water has entered the lungs of a neck breather, it's vital to get it out quickly to stop them from drowning. To do this, you can either lie them over your knee, making sure the hole is lower than their lungs, or produce the same effect by putting a cushion underneath them so that water flows out of the lungs and out through the neck. When the lungs are clear, you can begin mouth-to-neck breathing. Most neck breathers carry first aid instructions with them all the time. You'll probably find it in their pocket or wallet, or even stuck to the car window. The instructions are clear and easy to follow. First of all, use a handkerchief to clean the hole, making sure you don't remove any tubes. Then gently tilt the jaw and hold the head back. It'll help to support the neck with something like a rolled-up coat placed under their shoulders. Then take a deep breath and put your mouth over the hole in the neck, forming a seal. Blow in slowly, watching for the chest to rise. Make sure you let the chest fall completely before giving another blow. Continue blowing into the neck at the rate of 10 breaths a minute until they begin to breathe without your help, or the ambulance crew arrive and take over. With improvements in modern medicine, more people like Douglas are surviving throat cancers, and laryngectomies are becoming more common. The removal of the voice box means patients no longer have a normal voice, but with a lot of hard work and coaching, it's possible to develop some kind of speech again. As we've heard with Douglas, it's not always easy to understand what they're saying, but don't be afraid to ask them to repeat it. Watching their lips will make it easier. All it takes is common sense and a little patience.
You only need a quick look at the instrument panel of a typical light aircraft to realize that learning to fly is much, much more difficult than learning to drive a car. It's also a lot more expensive. An hour's lesson costs about £90, and a would-be pilot needs a minimum of 40 hours to obtain a private pilot's license. It requires serious dedication to succeed, and even when they've qualified, pilots have to do a minimum of 5 hours flying a year to keep their licence. Paul Wisely already had his licence and relished his practice sessions until the day when things didn't go exactly as planned.
Golf Romeo Bravo India November, ready for departure.
Golf India November, take off at your discretion, surface wind 150 at 10 knots.
Paul Wisely was an electrical engineer working in the aircraft industry. It was his familiarity with planes that made him want to learn to fly them too. He's played here by an actor. It was lunchtime, and Paul was practicing his takeoffs and landings in what are known as touch-and-go circuits. He'd just begun his third circuit and had climbed to 100 feet when things started to go wrong.
I was travelling back from Gravesend, and as I was driving along, that's when I saw the plane. At first I thought he was actually going to go over the top of the motorway, and then I realised that as he clipped the trees, he was too low.
Mayday, 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 Golf Romeo Bravo India November. Engine failure.
Golf India November, roger, mayday.
No one knows why the engine failed that day, but Paul found himself with just 11 seconds to prepare for a crash landing. He was desperate to avoid the busy motorway and was aiming for the hard shoulder.
He actually came down, very luckily, in a gap of traffic. I must have been about 100 yards away. It had a full tank of aviation fuel that was running all the way down the motorway under the cars that had stopped. He was in pain. I think he was trapped by his legs, because if there was a fire, he had no chance whatsoever. I was very scared. At that point, I did become rather selfish and think it could still ignite. I was worried. There was nothing that we could do. We had to wait for the services.
Alpha to any vehicle, M2
Trevor Paffett, with 18 years' experience as a motorway policeman, answered the call.
I was on the M2 about a mile from the actual scene, and I just thought, God, I'm going to be very close to this, and I'm going to be the first one there.
Is he alive? Yeah. He is. Okay, I'll see what I can do. Tango Charlie 7 priority. We've got one light aircraft down on the M2, carriageway's blocked. London-bound carriageway is now blocked. I need some assistance, urgent assistance, KFB and ambulance. There's a lot of fuel all over the carriageway.
Aircraft landed on M2 between junctions 2 and 3.
Bruce Jarvis and Laurie Moore were on duty nearby with the Kent Air Ambulance that day. They were airborne within minutes.
When you get a call like this, you've got a fairly good idea that you're going to get somebody that's very seriously injured, if not fatally injured. And it also goes through your mind, are you going to see a ball of fire? Because invariably tanks get punctured in plane crashes.
10 Ops, Kilo Alpha, departing en route to the M2.
I've got to admit that I was really scared stiff that someone was going to set this lot on fire. There was an enormous amount of fuel. We were slopping about in it. I thought, well, if this lot goes up, we're all going to be up where we shouldn't be, really, and I didn't want to be there.
To my amazement, there was a load of German tourists that were wandering around on the motorway smoking.
Sind Sie Deutsch? Sind Sie Deutsch? Nicht rauchen, nicht rauchen. Bitte, nicht rauchen. Schnell.
I can understand that people were shocked, and I think it's a natural reaction, but there didn't seem to be any concern for the aviation fuel.
Komm, komm, zurückgehen. Bitte, in Autobus aussteigen.
I think the O-level German helped me, without a doubt.
I really didn't expect to find the pilot alive. Looking at the wreckage, I thought nobody's going to be able to survive that sort of impact.
Despite the risk of fire, Joanne Baker stayed with Paul until the air ambulance crew arrived.
Can you hear me at all? Can you hear me?
He was in quite a lot of pain.
Pain anywhere?
He was trapped by his legs in the aircraft, and the canopy of the aircraft was over the top of him, which made access to it quite difficult.
The motorway was blocked in both directions. The emergency services used the hard shoulder.
particular concern was the amount of aviation fuel on board. It was unknown. It could have a full tank. It may have been, you know, half empty or empty. We had no idea. What was apparent was the amount that was flowing down the hard shoulder. Initially, on assessment, a difficult task. Although there was no fire situation, there was the likelihood of a fire. We'd spoken with the inspector in charge and asked him to ensure that everyone kept back. Irrespective of whether they were smoking or not, we just wanted them out of the way. The foam we actually put in a thick white blanket on top of the aviation fuel. By putting the foam, you actually exclude the oxygen and therefore suppress the fire.
Kent Fire Brigade's cameraman, Nelson, began filming the operation for training purposes. They had to concentrate on reducing the risk of fire before they could even think of using their specialist cutting equipment to free fall. One spark would have been enough to ignite the fuel and put everyone's life in danger. But as soon as the area was declared safe, their attention returned to Paul. His condition was really worrying them. They knew they had to act quickly.
We suspected he may have a spinal injury which could be made worse by movement. We have a device which is known as a red spine immobiliser that will immobilise the spine in the position that you find the casualty. He was sitting up, so we were able to immobilise him in that position. So that was our concern. It couldn't be a speedy extraction of the pilot. It had to be safe but short. Slow process.
The fire brigade used sabre saws and hydraulic cutters to try and free Paul, but they had to take great care from jarring his back. It was vital to keep him as still as possible. It took them another half hour before they were ready to lift Paul free. One of the busiest motorways in England had been at a complete standstill for hours.
We were able to lift him out in a sitting position. That was quite difficult because he had to be lifted over the damaged wing of the plane, over the cockpit. We placed him on the helicopter stretcher, still in the upright position, loaded into the helicopter, and that's the way he was transported to the hospital, still in a sitting up position.
Paul had crushed 3 vertebrae and spent more than a month in hospital. But despite the severity of his injuries, he's now made a full recovery. He'll never forget those 11 seconds that were so very nearly his last.
I remember my flying instructor when I was doing forced landing. I'd be happily taking off and suddenly he'd say, your engine's stopped, what are you going to do, you know? And he'd say, you've got to get this right. He said, one day your life may depend on this, you know. You have a second of disbelief as the engine stops, because you almost want to turn around and see the grinning instructor there who's saying, I'll just pull the power on you, but I'm going to put it back on in a minute. But he isn't there. I don't think that your life flashes in front of you as such. There was a vague feeling of summation almost, a bit like the school bell ringing at 4 o'clock perhaps, but no more than that. There was no feeling of impact or pain. The vision went as it crunched up, but your hearing is always intact all the way through. There was a sound like lorries backing over a tea chest. I wouldn't say it's put me off flying. The probability of it happening is somewhere around winning the pools, so the winning the pools has been more pleasant, obviously.
I sat in my car for 4 hours with aviation fuel underneath it, and I must admit, it was 4 hours of my life that I was very scared. I don't have sugar in tea, but I did that day, and I don't smoke, but I also did that day. It did hit me, and for a long time afterwards, whenever I saw an aeroplane, whenever I was driving up and down the M2, I used to concentrate more on the aeroplane than I did the road in front of me, because I was worried that yet another plane would come down.
This is the Perranporth Surf Patrol's IRB, or Inshore Rescue Boat. It's one of the many life-saving aids pioneered in Australia. There, lifeguards like Jason O'Donnell are highly trained professionals. He's travelled the world saving lives, and last summer came here to work as a lifeguard. He joined this club, which is considerably smaller than those in his native Sydney. His skills with the IRB helped make the beaches here a lot safer, and his teammates hoped his competitiveness would boost their chances of success at the big Rescue 94 competition.
To me, it's not a job, it's a lifestyle. Have you got a camera? What's your name? On holidays from school still?
Yeah.
Robin and that. How old are you, Liz?
17.
Come on, Rob. Come here.
Don't drop me.
Oh, we won't drop you. Ready, Rob? Yeah. Okay, smile.
This casual, we do this all the time.
What do you reckon, Rob?
I reckon.
Not bad looking, was she? Who said I haven't got any nerve? We've got a good mix of people. Everyone has their own little qualities. Someone might be good at first aid or looking after children, where someone might be good at rescuing and getting out fast in a rescue. But here we've got a good balance. The main reason we've got the IRB on life-saving facilities now is because it's a lot quicker to rescue a person with this rather than the conventional method using a board or a ski or a rescue tube. We use the IRB also for a lot of just moving people around on the beach, and if they've come out of the flagged area, just mainly like a sheepdog, I suppose you could call it. Go wrong, well, it's being able to keep a level head and being able to feel in control while you're in a pressured moment. At the moment, I've never really had to put my life on the line to that degree, and I hope I never have to. I'll always go out to help someone, but if I feel that my life is going to be threatened after I've tried and tried, unfortunately I have to say sorry about that, but we've always been taught that. You're not a lifeguard if you're by yourself, because you need backup all the time, whatever you do. Back home in Australia, it's just another job. Well, 95% of the population live by the coast, so in that way they're going to be aware of sea conditions. They still get into trouble in Australia, but in general they at least know what the red and yellow flags mean. The red and yellow flags are obviously for swimmers, bathers, bodyboarders, any inflatable sort of craft. The black and white checkered flags, they're for hire boards. We have these flags so we can keep people in the area and the safest area for them to use. And it also helps us to know where the people are. But, today being quite a safe day, being very flat, but even so, we've still had a few rescues. So it's the holiday maker have been quite surprised at this bit. We still have water moving in and out, causing rip currents, and then I think we've had about 5 rescues, 30 lost children.
How old are you, Liam?
6.
Okay. Right. You can take him up to the surf club up there.
Yeah.
I'll make an announcement. What's your mum and dad's name, an idea?
Ian and Julie.
Ian and Julian, what's your surname?
Boots.
Getting on for about our 30th of the day, I think. They're fooled mainly by the windbreaks. They'll go down with their parents and go swimming, and if the parents go a little bit further out than the children can,
the children will soon get bored and they'll start to wander back towards the beach, and they just get confused amongst all the windbreaks, and all we get from them is their name, and the parents are in a blue windbreak.
I've been coming to Perranporth since 1991-92, that's 3 years. I found out about it from Simon Lawrence, one of my mates. I like the little village atmosphere, and I suppose in a way it's got the small town syndrome, but sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad. Most of the time I've grown up in Sydney. Yeah, everyone should go and have a look at Sydney. It's one of the most prettiest cities in the world. Competition to me, it means a lot, and I know I've been called arrogant and rude when I'm racing, but I'm sure if you ask any serious competitor, while they're racing, you have to be selfish and you have to think of yourself. Oh, you psych yourself up, and I think of the start, I think of what I'm going to do, I focus everything else out, and I suppose you have to go a little bit tunnel vision. I didn't think, whatever life-saving would bring me so far around the world. It's sort of like an automatic friendship wherever you're going. It's a bit deceiving though. It's a good 3 to 4 foot, 5 foot on the sets. But it's I came down one and took a late takeoff and just threw me sideways. Unbelievable. I haven't been swimming like that for bloody years. Good fun out there.
The best in the business.
Go! Get on the ground!
Family Bonds.
You're going to jail.
Starts next Friday from 10 on UK TV People.
If there's one thing dogs dislike, cannot abide, loathe, it's having their teeth cleaned. But chewing pedigree dentisticks every day can help prevent gum disease without any unpleasantries.
And at More Than, you also get a 20% discount on breakdown cover when you take out car insurance. Phone 0800 878787 or visit us online.
Oh, tidying up the garden can seem like hard work, but it's great knowing it's all done. It's a bit like that in life. As we get older, it's more important to be ready for whatever tomorrow may bring. Now, with the 50+ plan from Liverpool Victoria, the peace of mind of being prepared can be yours. It can give your loved ones a guaranteed cash lump sum to help out with things like funeral expenses and unpaid bills when you're no longer around. From just £8 a month, with no medical or health questions, you're guaranteed to be accepted. And no salesperson will call. Oh, and there's a free gift when your plan starts. For your information pack, call 0800 45 45 45 today. Oh, thanks, love. Give them a call. It doesn't take long tying up those loose ends. For real peace of mind, call Liverpool Victoria today on 0800 45 45 45. Please remember, this is a whole-of-life policy. If you cancel your plan, you won't get back any of the money you've paid in.
For his birthday. For putting up with you all these years. Because it's high time the girls got together. You don't need a big excuse for a Warner break, where so much is included in the price. The hotels are really quite something. The food is out of this world. And if you overindulge at dinner, there's plenty of activities to work off those calories. There's top-class entertainment. And it's easy to relax because Warner breaks are specially for grown-ups. Prices start from just £96 per person for a 2-night break. Call 0870 240 6666 for the Warner brochure, or visit warnerbreaks.co.uk, or see your travel agent. Whatever the reason, why not treat yourself to a Warner break? Call 0870 240 6666 today.
Do you suffer from back pain or restless sleep? Research has shown the problem could actually be your mattress. If it's old and sagging, or too hard or too soft, just lying on it can create pressure points, causing painful joints and an aching back. In contrast, the incredible Temper mattress spreads your body weight, easing that pressure. Originally developed for the NASA space program, the Temper material actually molds itself to your shape, giving your neck, back, shoulders and legs all the support they need. At last, some relief from all that pain.
And a great night's sleep.
You too could wake up feeling refreshed and ready to face the day every day. Try the Temper mattress for yourself on our 60-night trial. If you're not absolutely delighted, we'll collect it free of charge. For details of the 60-night trial, call 08000 11 1075.
In the end, high winds are going to bring down dead branches from a tree. But sometimes for safety reasons, or maybe just to make it look better, you need to give nature a helping hand by pruning or felling. It can be dangerous work. Wielding one of these chainsaws when you're trying to keep your balance 20 feet up in the air is a job best left for experts. The specialist skills required by tree surgeons are taught here at Merristwood College in Surrey, where we filmed a reconstruction of what happened to two former students only 6 months after they'd qualified.
I think we just strip a few branches off.
Mick O'Connell takes part as himself. Charlie Spurgeon is played by an actor. Both had a certificate of chainsaw competency, but were involved in an accident every tree surgeon dreads.
Charlie was roped on the top of the tree, and he was taken off the side branches to take the weight off the tree itself so we could pull it back into the garden and fell it in that direction. Chainsaws are dangerous enough on the ground, so when we're using them in trees, that's why we use the ropes and harnesses, because if something does go wrong, you're not going to fall. And also we wear the protective clothing. Charlie was cutting away, and the next thing I heard the screams. It was like the screams of someone that thought they were going to die. Like, there's no two ways about that.
Mick, have put me off! I'm bleeding, get me down quick!
My first reaction was that he cut through an artery, and I knew that I had to get him down very quickly, or he could lose consciousness or bleed to death. I couldn't really move Charlie without getting rid of the saw, so I just unclipped it from the harness and dropped it from the tree. He was holding the wound with his left hand over to stem the flow of blood, but in the middle of his arms, there was a branch going up, so there was no way he could go anywhere.
Hey, Charlie, you're going to have to move around. I can't move my arm.
He took some persuading to do that, because obviously, as soon as he took his hand off, the blood was flowing pretty freely. Eventually, I did manage to persuade him to move his arm. It was only then that we could start getting down out of the tree, because we were still 30 feet up and he was losing quite a bit of blood still. All through the rescue, I was hoping he wouldn't lose consciousness for two reasons. First of all, that he would have been just a dead weight. He wouldn't have been any assistance to me to get him down. And also, if he had released the pressure from the wound, he would have lost quite a bit more blood, which could have been fatal. When Charlie was down, the firemen took over and the paramedics just sat down, and I mean, I was drained after the experience. It was only then that the shock sort of hit.
I make a lot of thanks. I mean, I was also lucky. I mean, a few inches out of the way, I could have hit the main artery, hit the bone. These are not toys. One slip, hit an artery, that's your lot. Without him, I might not be here.
As one of the firemen said, he asked him, did he have a lot of these cases? And he said, yeah, we've had a few, and he said, chainsaws don't take prisoners.
Here in Kent, they've got the biggest collection of Victorian oast houses in the world. These are part of a popular tourist attraction, but in their heyday, up until the middle of the century, each of those oasts would have dried 45 tons of hops a day to be sent to the breweries. Back then, hop farmers used stilts to reach the top of vine poles 16 feet high, and picking hops was a job for the whole family. Nowadays, heavy machinery makes the job a lot easier, and the seasonal workforce includes students, like 21-year-old Chris Henderson. Our reconstruction begins one cold September morning, as Chris and his three friends started work. All four men are played by actors.
Hop picking was really hard work, really physical, hard labour, but also had a good time together. We used to play practical jokes whenever you could. Throw people in the bottom of hop piles. It has to be the most traumatic experience that I've ever been involved with. Chris and I were good friends, having met 3 years before at university. Chris had been hop picking before on a summer job and invited me to come down for hop picking for that summer. Chris was driving the tractor, as always. I was at the front of the trailer, grabbing hold of the bottom of the hop pines. Tony was on the back of the trailer. Ed was walking along behind us in case we missed any of the hop pines. That morning, yeah, was very difficult moving around. It was very muddy. As you were turning corners, the tractor was slipping. The ruts along that edge of the hop field were sort of in places some 12, 16 inches deep. We just finished a row and we'd got a new trailer on. We were approaching the next row of hops and there was a real steep bend. And Chris had to try and go as wide as possible over these brambles to get round this corner.
But what Chris couldn't have known was that behind the brambles was a 15-foot drop into the River Tees.
And as we went around this corner, either the wheel slipped or the bank gave away, the front of the tractor just went down.
Mike, Ed and Tony managed to jump clear of the trailer, but Chris wasn't so lucky.
Chris! Chris! Chris!
I thought Chris was dead. I thought he was dead. I mean, I couldn't see him. He wasn't in the river. He wasn't in the trailer anywhere. I was still shouting, Chris, Chris.
Mike quickly discovered that the tractor's rear wheel was pinning Chris's arm underwater.
It's on my arm, Mike. I can't get out, Mike. Just pull it. It's on out. Mike! Chris! Look, go get help. He's trapped. Ed, you go to the hop picking shed. Tony, go up to the farm. I'll stay here with him, okay?
As Ed and Tony ran to raise the alarm, Mike stayed in the freezing water and continued to try and dig Chris's arm out of the riverbed.
Just give it for it, right? Give it for it.
Farmer John Mannington was the first to get there to help, followed minutes later by Stephen Wickham, Chris's boss.
I wasn't worried about the tractor at all. My main consideration was the safety of Chris. And when I arrived down there initially, couldn't see Chris at all. He was obviously right under the tractor, and of course one thought the worst had happened to him.
They brought a car jack to try and lift the tractor off Chris's arm, but luck wasn't with them.
The problem was that the riverbed was loose, and every time we sort of put pressure on the jack, of course, the wheel sort of went down into the bottom of the river, and the gravel shifted and everything else, and of course we couldn't lift the tractor at all. We were there in the water, trying to sort of comfort Chris, really, just sort of being there, but we couldn't do a lot, in all honesty.
As soon as Kent Fire Brigade arrived at the farm, they hit their first problem. Their appliances were simply too tall to drive under the hop poles and get down to the river. They had no choice but to unload the equipment and carry it on foot across the hop fields. Firemen Cyril Norton and Tony Kettle first needed to know how badly Chris was hurt, but it was already obvious his rescue wasn't going to be simple.
He's over here, Gov. His name's Chris. He's okay, but he's trapped by his arm. Okay. So what's his arm trapped under Chris? Oh, okay, I'm okay.
I was really aware that the water was rising. It had already risen a couple of inches before the fire brigade arrived. But when they got there, I spoke to one of the firemen and said, look, we've got to get him out quickly.
You can leave that to us now and get out the way.
No, it's all right, mate. I'm going to stay with him, all right? I'll just hold his head.
But there's no way I'm leaving. I'd already been in the river for I don't know how long with my best mate, and there's no way I was getting out of that river and leaving him alone.
Can you feel that? You're okay. You're okay. But you're cold, though.
When I arrived at the incident, I could see two main problems. One was the level of the water rising around the chap's face, and the other was the tractor and trailer pressing down on his arm, keeping him forced under the water. It meant that we was going to have to be quick because it was quite deep water that he was lying in.
first attempt to get the tractor off Chris. They winched it up and it moved a couple of inches or something, but then it must have slipped or fallen.
It's all right, mate. It's all right. It's all right. Come on, come on.
Just sort of screamed out in pain. And it was really hurting, really in pain.
Well, as soon as I could see that we wasn't able to get him out straight away, I thought then we was going to have problems. Somehow we needed a way of reducing the level of water in the river.
Station Officer Norton, could you send a message from me to the River Authority to see if we can get the level of the water reduced in the River Tees in the Goldhurst area? We've got a casualty nearly submersed in water. Over.
Howard Mackenzie, the head ranger at Buell Reservoir, now got involved in the race to save Chris's life. The reservoir normally releases 12 million gallons of water into the river every day. It was the first time that Howard had ever been asked to shut off the supply. But despite Howard's swift actions, there wouldn't be an immediate drop in the river level downstream, where the fire brigade were making slow progress, cutting through the reinforced steel tow bar.
It was a race against time because the level of water appeared to be rising, and it was actually getting up, lapping around his lips and mouth at the time. And there was also a degree of diesel running in from the tractor around his face as well.
Chris was getting drowsy and I was trying to keep him talking, keep him awake. So we were talking about friends and girlfriends and parties. And I even talked to him about Chelsea Football Club, because he's a big fan. I had him naming the 1970 FA Cup team at one point.
Chris had now been trapped in freezing water for over an hour. His condition was deteriorating.
Okay, Chris, what we're going to do is put an airbag under the tyre to take the weight off your arm. Let me know if you feel any pain. Okay, Chris.
I mean, the river was as high as it could get. I mean, I couldn't hold his mouth any higher in the river, and he was only just getting his lips in the air to be able to breathe. At that stage, it must have been a matter of minutes before he was going to drown right in front of everybody. I was really worried. That was the worst bit of the whole day.
Although Chris was just inches from death, the airbags were now helping to take some of the weight off his arm. It was now or never. Everyone braced themselves for one final attempt to free him.
Right, is everybody ready? Let's go for another lift. 1, 2, 3.
The combined strength of 12 men finally did the trick.
Right, he's clear.
Chris had been trapped for 1.5 hours. Remarkably, though, he walked away with just a few minor cuts and bruises. He'd not even broken his arm.
I had the most enormous and overwhelming sense of relief. In actual fact, I didn't feel cold anymore. All I could feel was relieved joy at being out. For the first 10 minutes or so, I felt quite afraid because there was only myself and Mike in the river. Throughout the rescue, I was really too cold and numb to feel a great deal of pain in my arm. But when they lifted it and then lost their grip on it before I could get my arm out, that was very painful. I owe an enormous debt of gratitude to all of the people who helped in the rescue that day, and more than anybody else to Mike, who was the proverbial pillar of strength. Very, very typically at the beginning of the rescue, he jumped in first and thought afterwards when it came to coming to my help.
I think I'd been running on adrenaline. I think I was just exhausted. When they got Chris out and pulled him up, I just sort of sat down at the river, at the bottom of the river.
After a hospital checkup, Chris was back at work the next day.
He most definitely had a near escape, because whenever we're turned out to an incident involving a person trapped under a tractor, we're usually only going there for one reason, and that is just to recover a body.
B&Q, it's 20% off time with masses of savings for the home and for the garden. With 20% off all garden furniture. That's every table, all chairs, parasols and every bench. Oh, but don't sit around. Real deals at B&Q. Too good to miss.
Whatever is the matter?
Chill out. I can't get cheap car insurance. They all say I'm too young. Should have asked Admiral.
Yes, ask Admiral. We love younger drivers.
Okay. I'll ask Admiral.
That's
What over for that long chase?
Some birds are irritable, some birds are friendly, and some birds aren't.
No, that.
This enormous thing comes out of the water. That takes breath away.
Share his passion. Attenborough at 80, throughout April, only on UK TV documentary.
Now, for more real-life rescues and tales of the UK people who run that extra mile to save someone's life, it's 999.
All of tonight's rescues are true stories. We've sometimes used actors or stuntmen, but everything you see and hear is based on the accounts of the people involved. They've helped us to reconstruct events as they happened. Negotiating a horizontal sheet of ice is tricky enough, but climbers and adventurous hill walkers faced with a sloping wall of ice would need one of these to stop themselves slipping. It's an ice axe, and this particular one belongs to Gary Hogan from Merseyside, who had to use it when things started to go wrong during a Christmas break with friends in the Lake District. The Patterdale Mountain Rescue Team took part in our reconstruction of what happened, and many of them were involved in the original rescue. They had to use their own ice axes as essential tools in the fight to save Gary, who's played here by an actor.
We've got to come up to Thornthwaite Crag. Now, there's quite a steep climb there.
It had become a tradition. For the 5th year running, the group of friends, all experienced walkers, were planning their route.
Right, so if we get to Mardale Bell here... Yeah.
Gary Hogan and Bernard Gorman had grown up on the same street. Together with their close friend Len Andrews, they started fell walking as venture scouts.
And back for the pint. Back for the pint, There's just no way that anybody could survive that fall.
He must have slipped down into one of the most remotest valleys in the lakes.
Probably some of the worst conditions we've had the helicopter come in. I don't think any of us on that crew ever sort of pushed the boat out quite as far as that, and probably don't want to again, really.
Good timing, really. Yeah, and then back to the hostel and then back to the pub. Have our tea and...
Gary's a, happy-go-lucky chap. He's a very gutsy person. I think he's probably one of the most bravest persons I've ever met.
It's not a particularly long day. It's like being back at the Scouts, eh? 8 mile hike.
He always likes to be the centre of attention, and, he's a bit of a performer. But he's a very good friend.
Up to the cairn, and then north. And if it's covered in snow up there, it would be really nice.
OK, lads, let's go.
Come on, Bertie.
Hi-ho.
Hi-ho, Bertie.
To work we go.
Len and Gary sort of played off each other, almost like a comedy team, really. I was the sort of the straight man, and these two would play off each other. And if you were with them, there was always a kind of a banter going on between the two of them. Come on. OK. Go on, Bernie. Off you go, mate.
They were well equipped for their walk along the ridge known as High Street.
I'm going to stop and take a photograph. Hey, look at them, Lenny. Let's have a go at that.
Gary spotted other walkers sliding down a snowfield with their ice axes.
Let's have a go. Come on. Yeah, come on. One or two of them started to slide in the snow and using their axes to brake, practicing ice axe braking. Instinctively, I felt from the vantage position I had above them that it wasn't a safe place to choose because the snowfield ended and we couldn't see what was beyond the line of snow. And without knowing what was there, I felt uneasy about them doing what they were doing.
When you're walking in deep snow, if you do slip and slide, the ice axe can be used as an anchor, almost as a brake.
Some of the others also made the most of the opportunity to practice with their ice axes, including Dave Rickwood.
I think everybody was quite keen, because I think everybody had new ice axes, and I think it was a bit like a new toy, and everybody wanted to have a go. It's really just a question of taking a lot of caution as you go down and staying in control.
Gary was travelling faster than everybody else, so he was sliding. He was almost like a slippery seal sliding down the hill, and he was really enjoying it. He must have gone another 20 yards beyond everybody. I started to get worried. Things got out of control.
Now, for more real-life rescues and tales of the UK people who run that extra mile to save someone's life, it's 999.
All of tonight's rescues are true stories. We've sometimes used actors or stuntmen, but everything you see and hear is based on the accounts of the people involved. They've helped us to reconstruct events as they happened. Tonight on 999, a bubble in the brain makes the diver blind and paralyzed. Will the life chamber save her? Living on air, how a driver survived the crash that should have killed him. And a baby whale trapped among the rocks, how a whole community pulled together to set it free. This is Stony Cove in Leicester, a quarry that's been flooded to make an inland diving site, ideal for training. A man-made lake, 136 feet deep in places, and down there there's a bus, a helicopter, a Land Rover, an aircraft cockpit, and loads of other unusual things to explore, making it a kind of underwater playground. And if things go wrong, then Stony Cove also has a piece of equipment that can be a real lifesaver. This recompression chamber certainly made the difference between life and death for Tricia Worsley, a novice diver who wrote to us about her terrifying accident and the 39 hours that she spent in here. In this reconstruction, Tricia is played by an actress, but everybody who helped in the rescue takes part as themselves.
Trish had great ambitions for diving. She wanted to open her own school, become an instructor, and take it a lot further than most divers.
All she lived for at that particular time was a diving. She absolutely adored it.
I've been involved in the diving business for 25 years, and this is the worst accident I've ever seen.
Great, it's the first time I've done that. Good. Yeah, I've got to do a 20-metre qualifying dive, so...
I just loved it because I love the water. I've always taught swimming, I've always lifeguarded, done life-saving, and I just wanted to take diving up.
Okay, what we can do then, go down past the cockpit. You haven't been there. Needed a 20-metre dive for a logbook as a sports diver, and the idea was to take it down onto a ledge that is approximately 20 metres. Yeah. It's the first dive to that depth. And the ledge.
Great.
Yeah?
Can't wait.
No problem.
Frank and I were kitting up, ready for the dive, and my demand valve was sticking.
It's not right.
And it just wasn't getting air out of it at all. It wasn't right. I wasn't happy. So we went off to the shop to get it checked out.
Hi, Steve. Can you just check this out for a minute?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
It's sticking a bit, yeah.
So I took it all apart and loosened it all, sorted it all out, put it back together. And we went back into the water again and went down.
Yep, it's fine now. Great, let's get on with it.
Tricia's confidence in her gear was to be short-lived.
We entered the water, went down to 4 metres, and carried on down past the remains of a plane that's in the cove. Got to 20 metres and exchanged OK signals, everything was fine.
We hadn't really done a lot. We hadn't really got anywhere or done anything, and things started going wrong. My demand valve was packed up. There was just no air at all coming out of it whatsoever. So I can remember trying to sort myself out and get air into my life jacket and try and breathe off that, and everything I did didn't work. Everything went wrong.
It was then you could see that her eyes weren't as they should be. They were very dilated. She indicated to me that she was running out of air, which was a signal across her throat.
When you know that everything you're trying isn't working and you're running out of solutions, then things get a bit scary.
I tried to do body breathing, which is exchanging my demand valve into her mouth and alternating between the two of us. Trish panicked, and it was obvious the situation she found herself in must have been very frightening. Her life support had just failed. The surface where the air was 20 metres away. There aren't many situations in life that can be this frightening.
I can remember seeing all these bubbles from the air that Frank had given me, and I'd got it in my head, you know, I wanted to do an emergency ascent.
In a panic situation, people become very strong. She pushed past me, knocking my demand valve out of my hand, my mask off my face.
I cracked the bottle on the life jacket to give me some air to start going up.
If you make a fast ascent, you have to breathe out on the way up, otherwise your lungs will burst.
And I'm screaming all the way up. There's just bubbles just coming out all around me, just screaming until I got up to the surface. All I can remember is getting to the surface, and then my life jacket deflated and I was going back down again. I can remember going back down again, and then really I don't remember a lot about it.
When I got to the surface, there was nobody there. And all I could see around me was a series of bubbles. I went back down and found her. She was on her way down, drowning.
Help! Get the boat!
We actually saw it. We saw it through the window. She's in trouble. It's as simple as that. You don't come up from that depth and at the speed she did without getting in trouble. The way that we got out there, I think it was the quickest we've ever done it.
Tricia was semi-conscious. The danger was that gases would start to bubble out of her blood like lemonade when the bottle tops unscrewed. There was no time even to get Frank on board as they rushed Tricia to the shore. If any bubbles lodged in Tricia's brain, she could die within seconds. She was in a desperate condition, but at this stage, no one had any idea just how complicated her struggle for life was to become.
I didn't realise at that time it was Trish, and it became quite apparent of the severity of it as we carried her up to the chamber room.
Tell us where, do you know where you are?
I'm all right. I'm all right.
Do you know where you are, Trish?
I'll be all right.
Come on.
Come on,
When Trish screamed, it was a horrible scream.
I can't see. I can't see anything.
Come on.
Then we realised the worst. We realised then that she'd got a bubble in her blood.
Come on, let's get her in.
The pain across my back was absolutely excruciating. Everything had just gone very blurred in the room. I'd lost my sight.
Definitely embolised, guys.
I don't think I can move my legs.
The violent pressure drop as she came up was expanding an air bubble in Tricia's brain, causing blindness and paralysis. The only way they could help her was to use the recompression chamber. By recreating the pressure Tricia had been at underwater, the bubble should shrink, but it was by no means certain she'd regain her sight and movement.
Here we have a diving emergency. We have a young girl that has done an emergency ascent. As soon as the chamber began the recompression, I found HMS Vernon. They're our naval experts on diving recompression, and they gave us all the advice then that we needed. Deteriorating.
So cold.
I was filthy, I was wet and cold. It's not a nice thing to be in. It's very, very small, very, very cramped.
It can be very, very warm going down, and when air's coming in to flush through, it's extremely cold. It's two extremes.
That's for the breathing.
Yes, I know it does, my dear. You're going to have to go down. That's it.
The chamber was taken to a pressure equivalent to a depth of 165 feet in only 3 minutes.
Not too bad, Alan. She's a little bit down still.
How's she breathing? Is the breathing any better?
The breathing's better.
Dave, is there a mark up there? Kind of brown
Alan, I think a sight's back. Yes, there's a light just there.
The sights came back very, very quickly once they got me down.
Try and follow it. Yes, her eyes are reacting, Alan.
We knew we were on a winner then, and we got her back.
Dave, I've just spoken to Vernon. We're going to move from the 165 now. We're going to start our ascent. You've just got to keep an eye on her.
Okay, Oliver.
But as they began to bring her up, things didn't go according to plan.
UK TV Gold has got a special on the menu, the Dinner Ladies box set.
Oh, we might be on the television.
So the earth didn't move? Even the headboard didn't move. Classic canteen comedy.
Didn't they teach you anything at school?
How to put a condom on a cucumber.
Honestly, what's the point of that?
Every night of the week.
What do you reckon to catering? Is it boring?
Dinner Ladies, tonight at 7 on UK TV Gold.
Tigger, Mo and Pepper were dumped and left to die. The RSPCA saved their lives. Billy was locked up in a barn for years, standing in his own filth. The RSPCA set him free. Willow was left in an alley, neglected and abandoned. The RSPCA rescued him. The RSPCA are the only ones with a network of inspectors who save over 170,000 animals each year. The only ones with a 24-hour cruelty and advice line, answering over 3,000 calls every single day. The only ones who prosecute and get over 1,700 convictions each year to protect animals from harm. We are here for any animal in distress all year round. No one does as much as the RSPCA, but we rely on you because we receive no government funding. We can only do our work because people who care help us. The RSPCA are the only ones who find loving new homes for over 5,000 animals every month. You can help us do all this and more with just £3 a month. Please call 0800 085 3355 and show you care. Just £3 a month can do so much. That's 0800 085 3355. Thank you.
With More Than Pet Insurance, we'll pay up to £7,000 in vet fees for each new illness or injury. And you also get £600 for advertising or a reward should your pet go missing. And you also get 10% off and a further discount if you buy online. To find out how you could get more and save more, call us now on 0800 300 808 or visit us online. More Than. We do more.
Whoa! Is that under your end or mine?
Well, they better not cancel football.
Who's that?
Mike, a picture. I'm sorting out the loan.
At Picture, we don't fuss or patronise. We simply help you rearrange your credit so you can live the way you want. Call Picture now on 0800 064 3003.
We just want everything in one place so we know what we're doing. Yeah. Yes, we have a mortgage. How much do we want to borrow? Yeah, 25,000. How much is that a month? Oh, that's brilliant. That's much less than we're paying now.
Are there lots of forms to fill in?
Oh, well, one less job for her. Yeah, okay, thanks. No, a bit of rain never hurt anyone. Okay, cheers. Yes. Do you know, it's really easy to talk to those people at Picture. You can actually have an adult conversation.
About football?
Talk to Picture on 0800 064 3003. See if they can sort out a loan for you too.
If you're renewing your car insurance, why not call in the AA team? Unlike some companies, we save up to 40% for all kinds of people. We'll also give you a full money-back guarantee if you find a cheaper quote. And a no-claims discount of up to 65%. Find out if you could save up to 40% on your car insurance. Call us now on 0800 197 3155. That's 0800 197 3155. The AA team, here to get you a better deal.
Let someone know they're special. Really, really special. With Cadbury Easter Egg Delight.
Animals like Willow need help. Just £3 a month can save them. Show you care and call 0800 085 3355. Thank you.
was going well until we started our ascent.
She's hyperventilating, Alan. Alan, I think we're going to lose her, mate. She's gone out on me.
Trish relapsed, much to our horror, and it was devastating at that point after all we'd gone through with her.
Righto, Dave, we're going to go back down to 165, OK?
OK.
Take it down, We've gone back down to 165 foot, and to be quite honest, we really need your help now.
I realised it was going to be a marathon stint when Trish relapsed. That's when the reality of it came home. Until she'd relapsed, it was going to be a straightforward recompression that would have lasted for 10 hours.
The naval doctors prescribed a course of steroids, which were rushed to Stony Cove from the local hospital.
The Leicester Flying Squad helped out Dave immensely because Dave had never given an injection before.
I once was learned how to give an injection by sticking it into an orange. It came in very handy, but the nurse who actually talked you through it through the little window in the chamber was incredible.
Push the needle into the vein in the direction of the shoulder.
The steroid in this case is actually to prevent swelling, where you have the bubble lodged in the brain, as Trish did, and you've got to bear in mind she was critically ill. This bubble is actually causing damage to the blood vessel, and so you get a swelling in that area.
Well done, Dave.
Thank you.
Everybody was trying to keep everybody's spirits up. There was a job to be done. The lads outside, and you were working 24 hours, you know, on shifts around the clock.
Dave, how you feeling?
We're a bit done in, to be honest with you, but not too bad.
We're just doing an hour or two sleep, I think, Alan.
19 hours into the run now, Dave. 19 and a quarter hours.
Dave was coping very, very well, but he was incredibly tired. I mean, he'd seen Trish really come back and respond well to the treatment, only then to start to slip away from him, of which he did a superb job in getting her back again.
Okay, Trish.
After 24 hours under pressure in the chamber, the steroid treatment was beginning to have an effect. Slowly, the feeling was returning to Trisha's legs.
Try and move them a bit.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit more feeling in them.
Come on, try and move them.
But as Trisha improved, there was now concern for Dave's health.
There you go.
There was a danger, because of the treatment that we'd been giving to Trish, that we could, in actual fact, give Dave a bend when he came out of the chamber. We didn't want to tell him that, because we didn't want him to worry about it.
Dave, you were still awake, weren't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Dave, I knew at this point, he was shattered. I mean, gosh, he hadn't slept at all. And little Andy came in to sit there with us.
Oh, it's really good to see you. Hi, Dave. Here comes the cavalry.
Andy Fraser was sent in to monitor Dave and Trisha during this final critical phase. They'd been in for 31 hours, but their ordeal wasn't over yet.
For the last 8 hours before we actually came out of the chamber, we were on special oxygen masks.
OK. Come on, won't you?
I couldn't breathe, and I didn't have the ability to my body to tell me to do it itself. So Dave just held my hand, and for 8 hours he just kept squeezing it every time I needed to breathe in. And I had to physically breathe in and then breathe out, and then he'd squeeze my hand again.
Come on, Dave, you need
What happens is that the carbon dioxide in your body actually is the encouraging factor to make you breathe. And because we were giving Trish pure oxygen, then it was removing this will to breathe.
And there was one point I just, you know, I had enough. It's right doing it. You try doing it for a minute, you know, and I just didn't want to. I just had enough. I just nearly given up.
You come, my duck. Come on. You've come so far. Come on. There's a good girl. Come on. When you were ready to come out, especially the last half hour coming back, that's the longest half hour of your life. But as soon as you hear the door go, it's an incredible feeling.
I can't describe it. There was Trish. I mean, almost, well, she was dying in front of us when we put her in there.
I put it to the skill of the lads for getting her in the chamber so quick. If she'd been anywhere else, she'd have been a cabbage, I think, for the rest of her life.
Dave suffered no long-term effects, but hospital tests showed Trisha had burst a lung during her rapid ascent. She'd also damaged the part of her brain that controls body temperature. For Trisha, it confirmed her worst fears.
When I was in the chamber, I just got it in my mind that I was going to carry on diving.
I'll be diving again.
Trish, I don't think you'll be able to dive again, but that is certainly up to the doctors.
I know it's all I've ever wanted to do.
I know it is, my dad. No.
I just can't bear it that I can't do it again, you know. Because
well, let's see the doctors, though. I don't.
Let's do the doctors whether you can. It's all right. It's all right.
And when I was told I couldn't dive again, I don't know, it just world fell apart to me. It threw everything that I'd planned out the window. So I was very, very bitter and very angry about it.
You're alive, my doctor. That's most important. When I saw a reaction, all you can do, you can't talk them out of it. All you can give them is just love. It may sound silly, but you've just got to give a lot of love.
Tricia never will be able to dive again, but she stayed in touch with everyone who saved her life.
Dave was incredible. He just treated me like his own daughter. And there's no way he was going to lose me in there. No way. He's going to keep me going. One thing it did do, it frightened me, because very few people have a brush like that with death or whatever you want to call it. You try and look at it and say, well, I'm lucky I did survive. You've got to accept it.
There are only 35 of these recompression chambers in the country, and the fact that Stony Cove had one on site was vital for Tricia's survival. But in an emergency, most people wouldn't be able to get to one in a few minutes. So it's important that divers minimise the risk of an accident by following a few basic rules.
Plan your dive to suit the least experienced member of your group, then stick to the plan. Tell the Coast Guards about your dive and check the tides and weather. You may have to abandon it if the weather deteriorates, so make sure everyone understands the signal to return to the surface. A dive marshal always stays on the surface. They check safety equipment, but divers must be responsible for their own gear. The marshal will also sort out buddy pairs. Avoid an odd number in your group so that no one dives alone. In buddy diving, you must keep an eye on your partner. If you become separated, search underwater for about 30 seconds and then return to the surface and look there. Always tell the dive boat what's happening. Use the familiar OK sign to say that everything's all right. Any other signal will be taken as come and get me. If there's no signal, a diver could be in serious trouble. The National Diving Committee recommends a maximum depth of 50 meters, but only if you're very experienced. Otherwise, you should stay above 30 meters. If you're making several dives in a day, start with the deepest and don't do more than 3 in 24 hours. As we saw with Tricia, decompression illness, often called the bends, occurs when a diver surfaces too fast. The rapid change in pressure causes bubbles to form in the blood and tissues. It's prevented by coming up in stages, known as decompression stops. The safe rate of ascent is set down in diving tables, but you should know your own limitations and make an allowance for your age and fitness. Someone suffering from the bends may have pain in the joints, skin irritation, numbness, nausea, or even convulsions. These symptoms may not appear until several hours after a dive. They can affect a diver's judgment, so be wary if they say they're fine but seem unwell. If a diver gets the bends at sea, the Coast Guard will arrange their transfer to a recompression chamber. Inland, get them to hospital as fast as possible, and just as Alan did after Tricia's accident, they'll seek expert advice from Portsmouth Naval Base. A recompression chamber recreates the pressure at which the diver was operating. Then it reduces it over several hours, so the bubbles gradually disperse. But changing the pressure can affect the voice, so don't be worried if they sound strange. Sometimes the humour of the situation eases what can be a tense few hours.
This is the Swallowfield Bypass, a stretch of the A33 just south of Reading. Like most dual carriageways, it has a maximum speed limit of 70 miles an hour, the same restriction that applies to all motorways. But unlike motorways, it also has junctions like this one, where it's perfectly legal to do a U-turn, a manoeuvre that's strictly illegal for ordinary motorway traffic. In March 1994, an accident happened at this junction that was to change Dean Milroy's life. In our reconstruction, he's played by an actor, but all the members of the emergency services involved in his rescue take part as themselves.
This computer simulation shows the movement of the driver forwards into the airbag during impact. Such computer simulation was absolutely vital in fine-tuning the airbag system to the behaviour of the vehicle in crash, and ensures that the airbag only goes off where it's absolutely necessary to prevent serious injury.
We've seen an awful lot of road traffic accidents in the job, and first impressions were that he's got to be dead with this sort of impact.
Theory is one thing, practice is another, so we had to crash test hundreds of vehicles in our testing centre and monitor the results to ensure complete reliability of the system.
Dual carriageways, which are subject to 70 miles an hour speed limit, in my opinion, shouldn't have intersections which vehicles can do U-turns on.
Dean Milroy, a computer systems salesman, had just finished his last appointment and was driving back to his home near Reading.
All of these systems work together in conjunction with the specially designed crumple zones in the vehicle body in order to make the driving environment as safe as possible.
The lorry driver could see how bad it was. He called up the emergency services on his mobile phone.
Hello, emergency service. I need an ambulance, please. There's been a very bad accident.
Luckily, the police and fire brigade were stationed just a couple of miles up the road and got there in minutes, shortly followed by an ambulance crew.
What's your name, mate? What's your name?
It's Dean.
Dean, you hurt anywhere?
On your jaw. On your jaw.
Hi there.
Hello.
When I arrived at the accident, obviously I thought that the driver would be dead. There wasn't really much doubt in my mind. When I actually went round to the vehicle and I saw the driver in it, and I realised he was alive, and I thought, thank God for that.
Dr. Alan Budd arrived soon after. He's part of an organisation called BASICS, a national association of doctors on emergency standby.
Dean's injuries, when I did a preliminary survey, was that he injured his jaw and his chest was painful, and I was very worried about his pelvis and his feet, which I couldn't really see, and I was trying to encourage the firemen to get on with the work as fast as they could.
Right, what have we got? That's insecure. I want that lashed off before anything else. I want all non-essential personnel pulled back from the job.
The articulated lorry involved was in a very precarious position. The load had shifted and was hanging over the vehicle, over the car with the driver in. When we've got one person trapped in the car, in that sort of situation, we don't want to then suddenly have 6 people involved in the car, trapped by the load of the lorry or the lorry itself. So therefore, the safety of the vehicle was paramount.
I'll go underneath his feet. Then trap this side. Yep, we need to get into this side.
Well, we had diesel all over the road and over the lower half of the casualty, which, although diesel isn't highly flammable, we had to tread very carefully that we didn't cause sparks or arcing from the battery.
They called in a special rescue service vehicle. It carries state-of-the-art cutting and lifting equipment designed for serious road accidents.
We had to make the lorry safe first by using airbags under the back axles to lift the weight of the lorry slightly, then use hydraulic equipment to lift the body of the lorry as the suspension units were damaged, and we used wooden blocks to chock the lorry into place.
As they stabilised the lorry, it was becoming obvious that the only way they were going to get Dean out was to take off the roof of the car. This was going to be a much harder job than usual, and Dean had already been trapped for nearly an hour.
As we started to cut down through the vehicle, we found that somewhere down the bottom end of his body, the lower half of the legs, there was something really trapped. So we had to remove most of the inside of the vehicle to get right down towards the pedals of the vehicle.
I was getting very, very anxious that we needed to get him out into hospital. There's a great danger after an hour of some disaster happening, and I was very worried at that time that he was still trapped by his feet very securely, and we hadn't got him out.
Okay, my instructions in? Yep. 1, 2, 3, and go. Yeah.
It wasn't until we actually tried to release him from the car that he screamed out in pain, and we had to obviously stop And we had another look, and we found that his foot was actually round behind the radio console with a bit of metal actually sticking into his foot.
On further investigation, we found that a piece of metal had come through the floor of the car and actually gone through his big toe and pushed the bone of his big toe up into behind the dashboard, which meant that we had to take everything apart to get his foot out without causing any further injury.
It took an hour and a half to get him out. During the next 3 months, he underwent a series of complex operations on his leg, foot and jaw.
The recovery process over a period of time, such as just over a year, is very slow for the individual. However, once you get high up on that physical mending cycle and start to plateau and everything goes a bit slower, I think then that's when you start to become a little bit more cognizant of the mental side of things, and you get upset and you get worried and depressed and such like, and just fearful for the future.
It's important to remember with a passenger airbag, if you're using a child seat, that the seat must be facing in the forward position, not rearward facing, because this would place the baby's head too close to the airbag.
When I was quite young, I was lucky enough to go to America, and airbags were commonplace over there, and I wish that it had become commonplace over here many years ago, because it could have saved so many more people's lives.
I know for a fact, and I think this will be endorsed by the various specialists who were on the scene, they've all, in fact, mentioned to me that I certainly wouldn't be here if it weren't for that one feature. Albeit steering wheels and other front fascia are padded. When you hit that with your head at that sort of speed, you're not going to survive in many cases without something like this.
My name's Tom Evangelista, and I'm a bail bondsman.
Get on the ground!
I work in New York with my wife,
You were being a jerk last night!
daughter, nephew, and in-laws. And we're the best in the business.
Put your hands behind your back. You're going to jail.
But to me, we're just a family.
Family Bonds, Easter weekend starting Good Friday from 10 on UK TV People.
Still looking for cheaper car insurance? Haven't you heard? Hastings Direct has been named as the cheapest car insurance provider for 2005. 0800 00 1066. 4 out of 5 people could save on their car insurance by calling Hastings Direct. Why not see how much you could save? They insure motorcycles too. Don't pay too much for your insurance. Call Hastings Direct now. 0800 00 1066.
We believe the message of Easter is not just that he died.
Mary.
But that he lives. This year, make the compelling video Finding Faith in Christ part of your Easter celebration. You can have a free copy when you call 0800 597 7791. Finding Faith in Christ recalls many of the miracles performed by Christ as recorded in the Bible, including atoning for our sins,
Thomas,
and his resurrection. These miracles give us hope that we too will live again. Finding Faith in Christ is an Easter gift to you from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints at no cost or obligation. Just call 0800 597 7791 for your own free copy. Call now and let Finding Faith in Christ help you remember the true meaning of Easter.
If the TV went on the blink, you'd sort it out. If the roof fell in, you'd sort it out. If you had something nasty in your airing cupboard, chances are you'd sort it out. But why do we simply fail to sort out all those nasty credit cards, store cards and loans we have? We let them fester away, trying to pretend they don't exist, letting the bills rack up until one day they're pretty scary. It's time to sort it out. One call to Debtbuster Mortgages could help lump all your outstanding credit and finance deals into one easy-to-handle lower monthly payment. And it doesn't matter if you've been refused credit elsewhere. Chances are Debtbuster Mortgages could still help. We could even give you the money to do something you've been promising yourselves, like a holiday. So don't ignore it, sort it out. It's a lot easier than you think. Call Debtbuster Mortgages now on 0808 132 1616 for simple, friendly help. Let's sort it out.
Do you suffer from back pain or restless sleep? If your mattress is too old, too hard, or too soft, just lying on it can create painful pressure points. The Temper mattress, however, spreads your weight evenly, easing pressure. Developed for the space program, the Temper material actually molds itself to your shape, giving you all the support you need. For details of our 60-night trial, call 08000 11 1075.
Howard Stevens had stopped at traffic lights on his way home when his car was hit from behind. After treatment for whiplash and back pain, Howard called the National Accident Helpline. We arranged for him to meet a specialist solicitor within 24 hours. Howard received over £4,000 in compensation. If you've had an accident at work or on the road, find out free if you can make a no-win, no-fee claim. Call the National Accident Helpline now on 0800 556 557.
Oi, Churchill.
Yes?
You know that introductory discount of yours on the home insurance?
Oh, yes.
A guaranteed 20% discount, is it?
Oh, yes.
I mean, I could save about 50 quid.
Oh, yes.
I could get a load more stuff to do up the house with.
Oh, yes.
For home insurance discounts, call 0800 404 8800 or visit churchill.com.
Big project, is it?
Bigger than yours.
Extreme Makeover Home Edition is back on UK TV Style. Get ready, people, to feel good. This is Extreme Monday on UK TV Style.
We're building up to the brand new series of Extreme Makeover Home Edition at 9 with back-to-back episodes and a one-off special of Ty's favourite moments. All day Easter Monday on UK TV Style.
This oar is used to steer a surf boat, and believe me, it's not an easy job. When this boat hits the water, it takes the...
Stay right where you are. Michael Burke is ready and waiting to give UK TV people another session of amazing rescues in 999. Next up.
Competition here in Britain as a means of attracting people to the sport and also keeping them fit for the job. A regional and national organiser, Peter's considered one of the great ambassadors of surf life-saving.
I think the lifeguard's a bit of an unsung hero, really. Everybody has the picture postcard image or the classic Baywatch, I suppose, image, but a lifeguard's job is bloody hard work. It really is. When you've got a sea full of people, there's quite a bit of stress trying to encourage them to stay in the area that you want them to swim in. The IRB's been the best. It's the best piece of equipment that any beach could have, providing it's done to Australian specs, the roller rope, proper nose rope, prop guard. You can't beat it in surf. In really nippy, quick, pick up your patient and you're out and back. A good crew can get out through major surf in an IRB.
Got out to the brake line and just got hit by a huge wall of wave. Just spun me over, top over tail, straight over the back. And then one of the lifeguards came along and grabbed me. So I was quite glad to see him there because it was a bit hairy out there.
This board's in for repair. This is a standard rescue board that the lifeguards use on the majority of the beaches. The boards either come in during the summer if they're desperately needed by the guards, or usually I get them at the end of the season. These boards and skis have been refined into racing versions and are used in competition by lifeguards.
Okay, ski race!
I've worked 6 years as a professional lifeguard. I've always enjoyed the competitive side of it. It's a good adrenaline rush sometimes in big surf. It is the toughest guy that can get out. competition is important because I feel that a lifeguard should be fit and able to do the job that he's been asked to do. If you're in a rescue situation, if I'm a patient, I want someone who can get to me quickly. So now I run competitions. We run what we call twilight competitions. There are no prizes or anything, it's more or less a training exercise for a lot of them. Now I've got into surf boats, which is that is a pretty frightening event, really. Surf boats came out of the whalers, the old whalers in Australia. So in big seas, they needed to find a way of getting out through surf.
The sweep, the man who steers, takes total control of where the boat's going, and all we do is row, just like an engine room, really. We have faith in him, he has faith in us, really. That's the way it works, isn't it?
You've not got time to worry about what's behind you. You've just got to worry about looking at your blade in the water. Making sure that you don't catch a crab or wash out. When the big waves come, you've just got to make sure that your blade doesn't get caught by them.
It's now a sport within surf life saving in its own right. At the last count, I've managed to destroy two oars and one sweep oar, which is the most expensive sport I think I've ever been in. Big surf deserves respect, and it's just like the fishermen and the guys who are in the RNLI. When you start getting into big surf, big seas, then you give it the respect it deserves, because it's a pretty fickle animal, the sea. It may look quite inviting in one moment, and the next minute it can just turn and you've got yourself a major rescue on your hands within seconds.
That last wave, it picked us up, and I thought the water was starting to come up over the nose of the boat, and I thought, well, this could be really serious, but it just managed to pop out, and then we roller coasted along. 'Twas not our day. Never mind.
Oh. That's surf, isn't it?
This is the bane of my life, this thing. This is the line that holds the swimming buoys. And we got two big anchors, and it has to hold 9 cans in line for all the belt races and the torpedo races. If ever you see me pulling my hair out and just going really angry, it's to do with swim buoys. Yeah, bring it round, Si. Take it straight up to the IRB.
Yeah, he's been great, really. Great bloke. He's done a huge amount of work for Rescue 94, you know, an awful lot of work. Oh, yeah, he's got a hell of a temper, yeah. Everyone's a little bit wary of it, you know. Another one of those fragile, handle with care ones. Should have that stuck on his back. But he's not as bad as he was.
Come on.
Great Britain has always been a bit of an outpost or a satellite regarding life-saving on the ocean side, because we've always taken everything from Australia. They've got all the money. You won't believe what we're running this World Championships on. It's such a pittance, it's a joke, but maybe that's made us hungry enough to actually achieve this, what could be a really big success.
Most motorists would admit there are often occasions when the last person on earth they'd want to meet is a traffic warden. But angels come in many guises, and this week's lifesavers are 2 traffic wardens who came to the rescue of a 65-year-old woman in North Shields. Nora Proud and her friend Shirley Drew were doing their weekly shop when Nora, played here by an actress, complained she was having trouble breathing. They tried to get to a shop they both knew well, but before anyone could help, Nora collapsed with a heart attack.
Might have been traffic warden for 6 years. We carry a radio, we wear a uniform. People look at us as if we're there to help them. We're a bit like a police officer around the town centre.
Excuse me, there's a lady collapsed in the wool shop. I don't think she's very well.
Right, I'll see what I can do, thanks. Right, what's happened? She's collapsed, had a heart attack. The shopkeeper was obviously keeping her going, but I noticed he hadn't loosened her clothing, so I unfastened her clothing to make it easier for her to breathe. I realised she desperately needed an ambulance, and I noticed there's no phone in the shop, so I got on my radio. Whiskey 983 XLB, urgent.
Can I have an ambulance, please, at Rudyard Street, the wool shop?
I was only a couple of streets away,
when I heard the radio message, and I thought, by Paul's tone, it's fairly urgent, so I'd better get down there quick to see if I could help.
Kev, can you start doing mouth-to-mouth, mate? I've got the chest.
It seems that you're going on and on and on, and there's no sign of any let-up. But you've got to keep going until the paramedics arrive. Because if you don't, then you're just giving up on that person.
We've got her breathing again, put her back into the recovery position. But as soon as we got her in the recovery position, she stopped breathing. Right on the back. That's it.
A year earlier, we'd seen a man collapsed in the street. PC resuscitated that man, and we thought, why can't we do this? When we got back to the station, we asked our supervisor, and 6 months down the line, he sent us on a first aid course. It was the first time we'd used the knowledge gained on a course. It gave us a lot of confidence.
I put 2 calls in for the ambulance, and it seemed like I was waiting for hours. And then when I heard the sirens, it was like winning a jackpot. There's the ambulance, Kev.
Good, keep going. Smashing. It's like the cavalry coming over the hill. You know, you see the blue lights and the sound and think, thank God for that.
I honestly didn't think the lady would make it. I thought we tried our best, and there's no way she'd see another day.
It was about an hour after that we heard that Nora was fine. She was being moved onto a ward, and we thought, oh, that's absolutely superb. You know, you think, that's really brilliant, you know.
Well, when I came out of hospital, I thought, right, I'm sitting here and I'm just going to be an invalid for the rest of my life. But not now. I'm up and I'm about and I feel 10 times better. I think I've been given a second chance for some reason. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, I don't know, but I hope it's the lottery.
Traffic wardens have a bad press, but we're real people. We're just normal under the uniform, and it's nice to make a difference.
This is Penley Point in Cornwall, where they used to keep the Penley lifeboat. 14 years ago, it was involved in a tragedy in which 16 people, including 8 lifeboatmen, lost their lives in heavy seas. 3 of the relatives of that ill-fated crew took part in a much more recent rescue with a happier ending. It all took place in that rocky inlet there and involved a whole lot of people, quite literally, pulling together. A ministry vet and an RSPCA inspector played key roles in the event, but it was mainly thanks to the determination and the resourcefulness of the lifeboat crew that the community of Mousehole witnessed a life-saving act they'll never forget. The pictures of the rescue that you'll see are those actually shot on the day by an eyewitness.
This thing was there that we wanted to be back out in the sea somewhere, not trapped in this little rocky cove. Very heartbreaking.
Can anybody remember any different names of kinds of whales then? Different mammals that are in the sea? Blue whale?
Humpback.
Humpback.
Sperm whale.
Sperm whale.
Grey whale.
Which is the biggest mammal?
It's a huge, great big beast. And when it's looking at you, it's got its lovely, great big eyes looking at you. Totally helpless. Can't do anything at all. You know, it's much more powerful than us, much more bigger than us. You know, we've got to help it.
What was the name of the whale that was washed up?
Big
whale.
It was, in my opinion, in a pretty hopeless situation. So I felt the only thing really was to destroy it.
The story began for RSPCA Inspector Mick Bull when he received an unexpected call for help.
They told me that there was a whale which was in distress near Penley lifeboat station. And that was it. And they said it was a large whale, and I was on my way.
It was a fin whale which had become trapped between rocks and was badly distressed.
When I got to Penley and saw this, I thought, my dear life, now what do we do? This thing was about 30-odd feet long and weighed well over 20 tons. Its head was actually facing the land, and unfortunately it had come in at high tide. The tide had receded slightly and it was trapped between 2 lots of rocks with its fins over the top of the rock so that it couldn't go backwards.
It was probably a subadult. When they're fully grown, they're about 20 yards long. So a full-grown one is enormous. It was in otherwise quite good condition as far as one could see, but it suffered very badly from these abrasions on the rocks. The sea, as it was breaking over the rocks and all around us, was blood red, and it was a very distressing scene at the time.
You obviously see whales blowing at sea, and you hear this noise, but to actually be within feet of this huge mammal blowing, sucking in air, and doing it very, very quickly, regularly, it was a weird sound. It was a sound of help, basically.
I left Mick there and went off to see if I could get a high-powered rifle to try and shoot it. We were actually in a good position to shoot straight into the brain.
But when 3 local lifeboatmen heard about it, they were determined that wasn't going to happen.
We were also infuriated about the whole thing. We thought, there's no way you're going to shoot that whale. Not while we're here. No matter what was said, we were going to have a go at saving that whale. The old boathouse, which the old Penley boat was at, there were some ropes there. Edwin went across and got the rope and brought it back to us.
Will it reach? Well, try it.
And then we discussed there and then how we were going to actually do it. Much to everyone's amusement, they thought we were crazy, I think.
I didn't succeed in finding a gun. I mean, high-powered rifles aren't something that everyone keeps, so I got back after about an hour and a half, and a lot of people appeared on the scene.
Edwin got one end. I went across to the headland, if you like, and then Neil followed in with him with the rope, and then I stayed on the other side. Formed a sort of loop from myself back to myself. And then Edwin stayed across on the far side, and we waited until the whale's tail was lifting and rising, and waited and waited. Edwin knew that he had to actually get the rope at a better angle so he could get it around his tail. So he had to jump across to the rock. They were risking their lives actually going out there because the rocks were so slippery. If they'd have gone in with the whale, there's a good chance you've got 20 tons of whale tail coming down on you. There's a good chance one of those could have been very badly injured.
The whale was trapped facing the shore. Their plan was to turn it around so that it could swim back out to sea. Effectively, they needed to knot the rope round the animal's tail. But there were strong currents, and so far the whale hadn't made things easy.
And then when the tail came up, the rope went down, and luckily it went underneath the whale's tail. And we had the loop then actually around the whale's tail as we wanted it. Straight away we thought, you know, brilliant.
Get round there! Get the rope round there!
We, on Rob Cook's insistence, wrapped the rope round and round itself so that in fact it actually formed like a slip knot. If, when the whale was turned and your feet got caught in a bite of the rope and that whale did shoot out, any of us could have got dragged out with it. That's why we were so careful. We had to exert so much pressure on the tail because the whole weight is actually pulling on you, so you could actually really, really hold on to it. And the tide was working for us as well. And it pulled around exactly as we wanted it. It was sheer luck perhaps, but it did work.
Keep moving.
We pulled the tail as close to the shore as we could and just let the actual tide lift and push the whale around towards the open sea. And the animal was just rolling around in the surface. I think it was trying as well. It seemed to know that it was we were trying to rescue it. It was as if she stopped and waited for us to do it. We actually did start to panic for a few seconds. We thought, it's going to swim now. It's going to swim and it's going to go strong, and we're going to have to go like stink to get this rope off. I was shouting, quick, get the rope off, get this rope off his tail, for God's sake, quickly. And she just stayed still, didn't even move, just stayed there. When she actually swam away, we were all shouting and egging her on. I'm sure she heard us. The amount of racket we made. It was absolutely amazing to think we'd actually save this animal's life and get it back to sea. And to see it actually going off into the distance was absolutely incredible. Best experience of my life. You want to shed a tear. You feel all choked up sort of thing. When she's going away, you feel really emotional about the whole thing. To think it's all happened. And the whale's gone. And she's safe and well.
I thought, as I saw it go and everyone cheered, I thought, well, that's brilliant. That looks really good. I hope it lives.
He was a survivor, no doubt about it. He wanted to go back to Mum. And if he had died at sea, he would have certainly been washed back in on one of Cornwall's beaches, and we would have found out. The Coast Guard would have told us, definitely. The effect on the community at the time was quite amazing, really. The local school got involved by drawing pictures of whales and writing stories about whales. And I received a poem which was was great.
There he lay, stranded upon the jagged rocks, struggling to escape the drying breeze against his skin.
Well, whales are always, and they've been slaughtered by man. You know, man is, well, man kills everything, don't they, all the time? All they want to do is kill for greed and money, you know. That's man's way of living. But to turn it around and save a whale rather than harpoon it and sell it and cut it up, it's a bit of a different story, isn't it? I can feel it in my bones. She's alive today.
We've got a bit of a conundrum next this afternoon here on People, as the late, great Richard Whiteley joins Clarkson, Hammond and May as the star in a reasonably priced car in Top Gear. Over on Bright Ideas, it's House Chain under offer. And on History, it's Sahara with Michael Palin.
Jeff, I've got it. We'll beat your insurance deal. I'll give you £50.
If it's cheaper, we'll drop our price and give you £50. Kiss. No kiss.
We're so confident we'll beat your home insurance renewal, but if it's cheaper, we'll drop our price.
Hello.
And give you £50 when you switch.
On returning back to the arms to try and find Victoria, I was expecting, because of the devastation, is actually to find Victoria dead.
I lay down in the meantime and I heard Shona say, Lorraine, she's dead, she's dead.
Get him alive and to take us through, right? If anything had happened to Victoria on the way down to Princess Mary, we didn't want it to sort of pass away on her own. We wanted to be with her, you know.
Right after it.
Easy.
Yep, that's it. Okay. Right, yeah, we're on it.
Victoria had a condition called persistent fetal circulation, which is a respiratory and circulatory problem which necessitates us breathing and providing other support for her. She was a full-term baby, and to prevent her fighting against the ventilator, which was doing the breathing for her, we sedated and paralysed her with a muscle relaxant.
Over this way a bit.
Paramedic Steve Thompson, along with nurse Lorraine Munro and Dr. Shona Mitchell, played here by actors, were to travel with Victoria. Her grandmother Christine Elliott and her mother Diana were also hoping to go with her.
How's your golf, mate?
We thought, oh, well, one of us is sure to go with her. But when the ambulance pulled up, we asked, the doctor says, oh no, there was no room in the ambulance at all. So we couldn't have went with her.
See you up there?
I loaded the baby on. I was told there wasn't as serious as they first thought, but could I take care because we were having problems with the airway. I just said, yes, no problem, I'll drive back slowly on the same route I've taken many, many times, with nothing untoward happening previously.
Painkillers?
The medical team monitored Victoria's condition throughout the journey. The incubator was the only thing keeping her alive and supplied with oxygen.
The transfer back really up until Hexham was quite uneventful. She was quite stable, but she was obviously poorly. And we got to Hexham and the incubator started alarming.
The oxygen alarm meant they had seconds to sort the situation out.
We seem to have some problems with the internal supplies and the electrical system.
There must be a problem with the power supply. I'll disconnect it.
So what I done was I stood up and disconnected from the main supply from the vehicle to run back onto the internal supply on the incubator. At the time of disconnecting, it was a sudden bang. My main concern at the time was my family. Quite clearly remember shouting for my family, thinking I'll never ever see them again. That was my main concern. And at that point I thought I was dead. Never ever forget the noises or the screams. And as the days progressed into weeks, I was getting flashbacks through the daylight hours as well as night times, which then led on to fear and panic.
Everything became dark and little bright lights were flashing, and I was completely, it was like a dream, and I thought, I'm dying. And my first thought was, how's my mum going to cope with this? And I can't do this to her. And then I looked around and saw the complete chaos in the ambulance, and I saw Shona and screamed at each other, we're alive, we're alive. And then Victoria, where's Victoria? And I said, how are we going to tell the parents? What are we going to tell her mum?
After it came to rest, it was very, very quiet. No sounds whatsoever. And all of a sudden it was basically panic. Organised panic.
Where's the baby? Where's the baby? Where's the baby?
Stop! 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 Hey, have you got a phone? Have you got a phone?
No, I haven't, no.
There's an ambulance parked about 2 miles back on the roundabout. Get them, tell them what's happened, tell them to radio for at least 2 more ambulances, because there'll be 5 casualties. 5 casualties.
Is there nothing I can do here?
Do it now, do it quickly.
Can you see the baby anywhere?
And it was a case of hunting through the debris
Where's him?
to try and find the baby, which seemed to be ages. I was expecting, because the devastation is actually to find Victoria dead.
Where is she? It's okay, we'll find her. Just keep still, right?
Other motorists stopped and tried to help, but Victoria's incubator had been thrown out of the ambulance and smashed. In the confusion, her body was found under some wreckage and handed to the doctor.
And I must confess, I didn't think that she would be alive. She needed a lot of oxygen. We were breathing for her. She'd been sedated and paralysed, so she had no ability to make any respiratory effort for herself. She had no cardiac output and no respirations, so I started cardiac massage. Come on, little girl. She still had the inner bit of her endotracheal tube attached, so I was able to breathe down that. She quickly re-established cardiac output, but obviously made no respiratory effort, so we just kept mouth-to-tube resuscitation, really.
Come on, little girl, you can... Just give me a breath. Come on, little girl, come on.
It was incredible. I mean, she had fairly trivial injuries, really. It was incredible.
Steve had broken his ankle. In all, 10 people needed hospital treatment.
Got a baby arrested with the doctor now. Got a nurse there with whiplash. 2 crew members over there slightly injured. The baby's the priority.
The ambulance had collided with another vehicle. Victoria escaped almost unharmed and has since made a full recovery from her illness. But Steve and his colleagues haven't been so lucky.
Eventually, it got to stages where I was actually crying. I was suffering chest pains. Things like this were developing and manifesting without me really realising I was bad and ill. And it was diagnosed as severe clinical depression as a result of the accident, which then led on to post-traumatic shock disorder. The long-term effect to me was actually having to resign from accident and emergency work. It was a case of receiving counselling, receiving medication, and actually progressing yourself towards returning back to the normal world.
Nice and easy. 1, 2, 3.
Yes, all the emergency services will suffer from it. There will be individuals who went through more traumatic cases than I've actually went through, who may be suffering from the same sort of signs and symptoms I actually had. Sleepless nights, losing weight, social life vanishing, being aggressive towards friends. But I assure you that it does get better over time.
Diana organised a party with the ambulance crew to celebrate her daughter's first birthday. Victoria was blissfully unaware of the significance of the anniversary for her guests. Steve knew only too well.
Victoria at the moment is my third adopted daughter. I actually love the little girl. We're in regular contact. Last year I was celebrating our first birthday and it was a fantastic day. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It's really nice to see the little girl now and again. She's the most luckiest girl in the world. And I hope to see her again for our next birthday. And God bless the little girl and her family.
Everybody in the emergency services is in the front line, but as we've seen, they're human too. It hasn't always been easy for them to talk about such extreme emotions. But Steve was brave enough to share his experiences of just how crippling post-traumatic stress disorder can be. It's only relatively recently that it's been recognised as a problem. And as the psychiatrist, Dr. Gordon Turnbull, explained to me, anybody can get it, and the three main symptoms, all of which were experienced by Steve, are unmistakable.
People remember what happened to them by day in the form of flashbacks and by night in the form of nightmares. And these are not just ordinary memories. These are vivid, precise, exact recollections of exactly what happened. Not only the facts, but the feelings, so they're pretty nasty. The second thing is that they try to avoid those memories as best as they can. So, for instance, there'll be a lot of people avoiding this particular program. The third thing is that they suffer from an unusually high state of arousal, both in the head and in the body. So it's a total body reaction. One person put it very well, and that was that despite being Sunday and washing the car and reading the Sunday newspapers was the only major challenge that they had, they felt all day that they were about to make their first parachute jump.
Is it easy for people in the emergency services particularly to acknowledge that they're under this kind of stress, or is there a stigma in those organisations? Do they see it as an expression of weakness, perhaps?
That used to be the case much more than now. Thank goodness. I think that there was a tremendous stigma about anything that reeked of psychology. But now I think that things are different. But you see, it's particularly because the therapists involved in this area are beginning to demonstrate that post-traumatic stress disorder is eminently fixable.
How common is it then in the emergency services? I mean, these people by definition have to deal with traumatic incidents maybe every day.
Yes, that's right, and I think it's very common because they are normal people and they experience normal reactions. They may, however, be quite good at processing their experiences, that is, at debriefing themselves. I mean, down in the pub is actually quite a good way to do it. It's traditionally been done that way, and that's not a bad way. But of course, it can be the other way. One major experience will then actually bring out the whole lot all at once, and then they have a major post-traumatic stress reaction.
You're under this stress, you go along and get it fixed. Does that mean you're going to be as good a police, fire, ambulance worker as you were before?
It's better than that, actually. I think the aim for most therapy in PTSD now is to improve upon the old version. That is, that people have learned things about themselves because they've been exposed and because they have survived that will actually augment them as people, that actually helps them to grow as people.
My name's Tom Evangelista, and I'm a bail bondsman.
Get on the ground!
I work in New York with my wife,
You were beating a drunk last night.
daughter, nephew, and in-laws. And we're the best in the business.
What you hiding behind your back? You're going to jail.
But to me, we're just a family.
Family Bonds, tonight from 10 on UK TV People.
I had a heart, and I know without heart you cannot play.
Get in there! Come on, get on! Wayne, where are you going? Here we are! Wayne! Come back! You can't go where I go!
Play for me, my brothers.
Grab the day, Muller Vitality, now with good bacteria and the added benefit of omega-3.
For ladies who enjoy their cars, Sheila's wheels are superstars. Girls are bored beyond endurance, paying too much for car insurance. For bonds of car insurance deals, girls get under Sheila's wheels. Women make the safest drivers, we could save a bunch of
Are you facing an endowment shortfall?
Policy, shortfall, index linked, limitations, terminal bonus.
Don't be put off by all the jargon or be worried that your claim won't be treated fairly, because Endowment Claims, the claims specialist, is here to help you. Making endowment claims is all we do, and if you don't claim, they win, you lose.
Call Endowment Claims now on 08450 70 60 40 or visit us online at endowmentclaims.com. Endowment Claims.
The Purple People have helped thousands of people in all kinds of ways. We've helped them buy new cars, improve their homes, consolidate debts into manageable payments. If you're a homeowner looking for a prompt, personal and professional service, call the Purple People on 0800 980 0316 or apply online.
How little does it cost to join the UK's #1 breakdown service? A service with almost twice as many dedicated patrols as anyone else, who fix more breakdowns than anyone else, and who 95% of its members would recommend. Join the AA now from just £39. Call 0800 444 999.
Join now. Call 0800 444 999.
What's the point of broadband? If you're not into downloading movies or music, and all you do is send the odd email, if you have the time to wait for files to download, maybe broadband isn't for you. But if you could get AOL broadband for just $14.99 a month for the first 6 months, what's the point of staying on dial-up? Call us now on 0800 200 6262.
Cuprinol sprayable. The fastest and easiest way to do your fence. And now available for decking.
Desperate to get rid of your textured walls and ceilings? There is a better way. Polycell Smooth Over covers a textured surface or a damaged wall to get them smooth, ready for painting. Polycell Smooth Over. It only takes 2 ticks.
Hot stars for a cool Easter. Blockbuster movies on UK TV Gold.
It was early September when Ian and Ruth Scar Hall set out for a day's fishing on the River Castley in Sutherland.
Normally it's quite a slow-moving river, but the river fills up very quickly, and within a matter of an hour, hour and a half, can rise to about 10, 12 to 15 feet in depth and spread across from that 15 to 20 metres wide to about 100 metres wide.
If you get a big flood, it'll be half to 3/4 of a mile wide, and it's very fast in places. I don't know how many knots it would be, but you would be, I doubt if you could swim across it, put it that way.
Ian was an enthusiastic salmon fisherman and wanted to share his enjoyment with his wife, who's Swiss.
I like the warmth. I like swimming. I actually do like water, and I like the sunshine. So we have a compromise. I come fishing with him, and he comes and suffers with me in Florida once a year.
Ian knew where to take Ruth to give her a chance of catching her first salmon. They started by crossing the river by boat.
The previous day, I'd actually caught 3 fish, and Ruth hadn't caught one at all. So it was getting increasingly important that she should catch a fish, otherwise she was going to lose interest.
There was rain in the air, but the weather was generally dry, though overcast. Once they dealt with the boat, they had to wade across a mountain stream which flowed into the River Castley. The water was less than 12 inches deep.
I knew this particular spot that I thought there was a very good chance we could get a fish. We did contact a nice salmon, which took probably 15-20 minutes to play and land, and Ruth very skillfully played the fish, landed it, and we were very jubilant and very happy for a while. Having caught the one fish, the attraction now was to go on and get a second fish. So we carried out to fish the pool out. And of course that, with the benefit of hindsight, proved to be a mistake.
It began to rain. They carried on fishing. The wilder the weather, the better the chance of hooking a salmon. But the weather got worse. The water level of the river and stream was rising fast. Ian didn't notice at first. Ruth was getting increasingly anxious, though, as darkness fell.
Ian, don't you think it's time you went home?
All right, darling, just a little bit longer.
Eventually, I persuaded Ian to go back. Well, I just couldn't understand. There was suddenly this burn with water so high, and I said to him, I'm sure we didn't come this way. And he said, yes, we did. When we crossed it, it only came up to my ankles. And when we went back, it was just all white. It was just gushing. It was just awful.
We went step by step across the river. I really thought we would get across. And we got to halfway, and the main stream was coming down. It was boiling up around us. It was impossible to cross the burn, which was no longer a burn. It was a raging torrent.
Cold and wet, they were now trapped on the wrong side of the river with nothing to eat or drink. At 10 o'clock, farmer John White was out trying to move his sheep to the safety of higher ground. 12 of them were to drown that night.
Right. Look, someone with a torch. Help! Help! Where are you? Over here! This way! We're stranded!
I don't know if they've been shouting for a long time, because, you know, you could have shouted for the rest of your life and you wouldn't have got anybody. It was just a pure chance that we happened to be there at that time.
Can you get help? I'll go and phone the police and then I'll come back. Thank you, but please, hurry! Please, hurry, we're floating!
Dormant Police Station.
We had wind, force 11, 12, and hail, snow, and rain that was just horizontal.
Hello there, this is the police.
Ian and Ruth had now been stranded for 5 hours.
From the map we could tell that they were cut off from both the west and the east side by burns that were feeding the main River Castley, and the only option was either by boat or by air.
At midnight, a helicopter was scrambled from RAF Lossiemouth.
The conditions were so bad that the Rescue Coordination Centre left it entirely up to me as to whether we made any attempt at all to leave Lossiemouth. But I'm a salmon fisherman, so I had some sympathy with the guys in trouble. And we did make an attempt. We, in fact, made 3 attempts, but the rain was so heavy, it was just like a monsoon.
The visibility at times was almost zero, and then it would clear a bit. And it was quite a while before we actually saw the helicopter coming towards us.
In my final attempt, I hover-taxied up the river at 50 feet. But sadly, the wind was also very strong, 70 miles an hour, and that's beyond the aircraft's capabilities.
I'm sure he did his very best to get into us. But just at that time, a particularly bad squall seemed to come down. It completely obliterated the helicopter from sight, and it droned away again.
They realized a second rescue attempt would have to wait until first light. The police stayed on the far bank, but couldn't help them now.
So we settled down really for the night, and Ruth was very, very good. She was very calm about it, She would talk of other things other than the predicament that we were in.
The fingers were hurting, the toes were hurting. I just went numb then a bit, and I think at times you sort of do not sleep, but you go quiet. Also, I think what is the instinct? You have to survive. It's the only way. You just have to survive, and somewhere the strength comes.
4 times during the night they moved to higher ground. Their boat was washed away. Hurricane winds gusted to more than 100 miles an hour.
Well, the next step was to get a boat across to them, and the only way we could do that was to obtain the services of the Sutherland Rescue Association, which is the inshore rescue association based in Dornach.
We tend to be used to launching our boat in the sea, and coming 30 miles inland to a river is not really how we're seen at all, and especially not if it's doing 25 knots. So we had to be sure that when we got it in the river, we were in complete control of the situation from the first second.
Hello! We'll get a boat across to you shortly! Hold on!
We had it worked out, essentially, that we were going to go down the river. We had the motor going all the time, so we'd have some steerage, and I think they paid us out on the rope. And we go down past the Scar Halls, and then steamed back up to them on the other side.
It seemed ages how they had to get the boat into the water with all these winches, and it just took ages.
Because of the speed of the river, and the rope that we were tethered to on the other bank was in a big bow, and that was tending to pull us downstream. And at one time we thought we were going to have to cut the rope, because the river was pulling the rope right down past the boat. And if it had cut the prop, that would have been it finished, you know.
Ian and Ruth were soaked to the skin and extremely cold.
One of the men very quickly, obviously seeing what the state I was in, tried very quickly to get me out. And of course this man fell into the river. And I just collapsed. All hope went. I thought, no, there's no way out at all.
Ruth was suffering from hypothermia, but neither she nor Ian had any long-term effects from their stark lesson in how quickly conditions can change.
I feel awful to put so many people into danger with us, which of course we didn't want it to. But I think people should take notice of that, because they're very, very brave people. I still go fishing, because I do have at times fun, but I will never ever cross that river in this little dinghy again.
Imagine spending an 8-hour shift peering through binoculars trying to spot individuals in distress amongst a sea of between 3,000 and 10,000 people. That's how busy it gets here at the beach at Perranporth at the height of the season, and many of those visitors are totally unaware of the dangers. A typical day's crop of casualties keeps the Surf Patrol busy, but as we'll see, they spend a lot of their time trying to stop trouble before it happens.
Quite a few people this summer have been standing on weaver fishes. This is a weaver fish in the jar here. Danny will be able to tell you a few things about the weaver fish.
You'll find them, they bury themselves in the sand, normally at low tide. Their dorsal fin has got 3 spines, and they're hollow spines.
You sit down there. Okay.
The poison from a weaver fish is in fact a protein, and rather like egg whites is changed by heat, the sting of the weaver fish, the poison of the weaver fish is changed by heat. So the way we treat the weaver fish sting is to place the foot that's been stung into as hot water as you can stand.
All right. If you feel better with the hot water now, or put it down into the water a bit further. The tears have gone now, haven't they? Yeah? Good.
I've lost my brother. Can I run back and see if he's there?
Yeah, try it there, but then come back down here if he's not there.
I looked for him for a while. He was walking up the beach casually, so it wasn't in the sea. You know?
Happens all the time. What happens is they go in the water and then they come out, and because they come out and the sun's going down on them, you can't make out who's who. Yeah. And they just go off and make sandcastles. But it's a good message for young boys, especially young boys and young girls of about 9, 10, 11. If they're going anywhere on the beach, let their parents know where they're going.
Don't do it again, Nicholas, all right? I think it's more difficult if you're a woman telling people to do things, because they don't. I think the archetypal sort of lifeguard is, you know, a big bronze man, and they don't tend to take it so well. The thing is, the tide's coming in really quickly here, and it comes in a lot quicker than people anticipate, and they get cut off. Can you please move back round the beach, as the tide is coming in very quickly, and it's very dangerous. Thank you.
No, it was fairly obvious. Watching the tide coming in, we were literally just having a wander around. And apart from that, there's an escape route straight up over the top there. Right?
But the thing is, you never know whether people are local or they're on holiday, so you have to go and tell them anyway, just in case. And sometimes they get a bit offended when you do try and tell them, but, you know, that's what we're here for, really.
No sun cream on, sir? No, not yet today. It was such a surprise for the sun to come out this afternoon that we just come straight down here, to be honest.
Look, what we're doing is we're dishing out some leaflets, and it advises you of the problems that can occur, not now, but in 10 or 15 years' time if you don't cover up. 34,000 people a year in this country actually contract skin cancer. So it's something that's the public becoming more aware of.
You can show me sunburn, Dad. This is what happens if you don't read these documents.
People who are inexperienced can just get a wetsuit and a board which can float them and just jump in the sea and be gone. I mean, you wouldn't be able to just go in and hire a hang glider and jump off the cliff, would you? When I was in Aussie working, the only people that hired out boards, or if they set up a business as hiring surfboards, they had to be qualified in as much as they had to have their bronze medallion, and they were restricted on the number of boards that they could hire out, and they were responsible for those people.
Okay. Have you got a car here?
Yes, I've got a car.
Do you know where the casualty is, over in Truro or not?
I don't know.
Oh, well, he needs to go in for a couple of stitches there.
Right.
Okay, because he's obviously got a few cuts down the side of his face.
Just his first day, he's had the board nearly.
Is it?
Well, the suit half an hour. Yeah.
All right, well, he might need the end repaired.
Attention in the water, please. Attention in the water. Unfortunately, due to dangerous conditions, the beach is now closed.
Somebody really crashed into my head with a board, so I was just about to come out before they closed it. So it's a good decision, really.
I mean, we could have been in trouble out there really easy today. They were out straight away to make sure we got back in all right.
Get back to shore, you move right across. Back into the shore, flow. Keep going. You wouldn't want a holidaymaker going out in it, because if they got in it, they'd panic, and they would quite easily go under today with that sort of surf as well.
We do our best to keep some sort of swimming area open. Very, very rarely the red flag goes up here now. It isn't very often.
I don't mind. If it's better in terms of safety, especially because I've got young kids, I'd rather they tell us and get us out than keep us in.
If we don't stay out there, then, well, it'd be stupid, wouldn't it?
The Berrenport Surf Patrollers get busy every year because too few of us know about beach safety and about how treacherous the sea can be. Britain has more than 9,000 miles of coastline, and there just aren't enough lifeguards to watch over everyone. So if you're planning a trip to the seaside, the Royal Life-Saving Society offers these practical tips on making your time on the beach as safe and enjoyable as possible.
When you're by the sea, watch your children at all times. Every year in Britain, 50 children under the age of 10 drown while playing on beaches and waterways. Remember, children can drown even in very shallow water. Always obey any warning flags and notices and try to swim where there are lifeguards on duty. You can tell a beach is patrolled if there are red and yellow flags flying. It's safe to swim between these flags, but don't use inflatable airbeds in the water, as you can easily get swept out to sea. And remember, never swim when the red flag is flying. Know your limits and never overestimate your swimming ability. Stay within your depth and swim parallel to the shore, not out to sea. Never swim alone, and always tell someone where you're going and what time you expect to get back. Don't swim if you feel unwell, when you're cold and tired, or after drinking alcohol. And wait for at least an hour after a meal, otherwise you may get cramp, which will make swimming difficult. If you want to cool off, beware of the water's temperature. Plunging into cold water when you're really hot can sap your energy, and a cold shock can even cause a heart attack. Never dive into the unknown. Anything could be under the water, sharp bits of rubbish, rocks and weeds. And if you dive into water that's too shallow, you could seriously injure yourself or even end up paralyzed. Look out for rip tides. On Berrenport Beach, they're a particular danger. They're usually indicated by calmer water between areas of surf, and they can carry you out to sea. Black and white checkered flags are used to mark the areas reserved for surfers and windsurfers. It's recommended that all surfers should be able to swim at least 50 meters in open water for their own safety. If you do get into difficulty, try to stay calm. Raise your arm to attract attention. Save your energy by floating on your back and going with the water, or swim diagonally across the current. If you're on a belly board, stay with it. It gives you added buoyancy and makes you easier to spot. If you see someone in trouble, raise the alarm, tell the lifeguard, or dial 999 and ask for the Coast Guard. They're on call 24 hours a day to coordinate search and rescue operations. Only go into the water to help someone if you're a strong swimmer. Every year, around 10 people are drowned while attempting a rescue. So, if you're in any doubt, stay out of the water.
Road rage is no respecter of age, sex or class. You're here because you need my help. Oh, come on!
A week of wicked programmes about wrath. Road Rage School, Tuesday from 10 on UK TV People.
You said some people grow up to become killers.
Some people grow up to catch them.
Every morning, I like to give my kids Actimel to help support their body's natural defences. There's bad bacteria everywhere, but kids will be kids. Hey, that's dirty.
Actimel tops up their natural good bacteria, making life harder for the bad bacteria. Actimel helps support their natural defences.
For the very latest in DIY technology, use the laser level from JML. Whatever the job, straight up, down or across, you can now achieve perfect straight lines with the laser level. Easy to use with an adjustable plate and leveling screw, you can set the straight line exactly where you want it. Just the job for putting up shelves, hanging wallpaper, tiling, kitchen units, laying flooring or even hanging pictures. Be accurate with the laser level from JML. Incredible value for only $9.99 at Woolworths, Focus, Robert Dyas and Wilkinson's right now.
During your lifetime, your eyes will capture over 24 million images. That's why regular eye exams are important. To enable us to see exactly what you're seeing. Every Vision Express optometrist has over 100 different ways to assess your eyes. For a thorough eye exam, book online today. See an expert. Vision Express.
With More Than Pet Insurance, we'll pay up to £7,000 in vet fees for each new illness or injury. And you also get £600 for advertising or a reward should your pet go missing. And you also get 10% off and a further discount if you buy online. To find out how you could get more and save more, call us now on 0800 300 808 or visit us online. More Than. We do more.
How little does it cost to join the UK's #1 breakdown service? A service with almost twice as many dedicated patrols as anyone else, who fix more breakdowns than anyone else, and who 95% of its members would recommend. Join the AA now from just £39. Call 0800 444 999.
Join now. Call 0800 444 999.
Can I nick a fag? You're not having one?
Nah, I'm cutting down.
There are some cigarettes all smokers would like to cut out. Fortunately, Nicorette is the only gum proven to help you cut down by more than 50%, making it easier to stop altogether. Cut down gradually with Nicorette gum, then stop.
You've probably heard about the benefits of including more omega-3 in your diet. But the most effective form of omega-3 for keeping the heart healthy can only be found in certain fish and just one spread. New St. Ivel Gold with the most effective omega-3.
Not expensive on a cost per wear basis. No. Oh, nice pants, Bridget. They're holding it all in. Oh, we've got to eat lots of blueberries. Or is it pomegranates this week? Keep the muffin tops at bay. Would you grow your own facelift if you could? Yeah, with a big hat and sunglasses. And a little dog. Oh, George or Brad? George. Angelina.
A lot can happen in a week, so don't miss a thing with Grazia.
UK TV Gold has got a special on the menu, the Dinner Ladies box set.
Oh, we might be on the television.
So the earth didn't move? Even the headboard didn't move. Classic canteen comedy.
Didn't they teach you anything at school?
How to put a condom on a cucumber.
Honestly, what's the point of that?
Every night of the week.
What do you reckon to catering? They're a bit boring.
Dinner Ladies, tonight at 7 on UK TV Gold.
This is a museum now, but mine headframes like this once studied the landscape here in Cornwall, the home of tin mining for 3,000 years. Now there's only one working mine left. At its peak in the 1870s, there were 350 mines and 35,000 miners. They worked in cold, wet and dangerous conditions. When accidents happened, it was fellow miners who came to the rescue. A typical shaft can be 3,000 feet deep, and it's usually divided into 3 vertical sections. The first 2 contain cages that take the miners up and down. The third, running alongside, is a service shaft that's used for hauling bulky equipment in and out of the mine. It was in just such a service shaft that 3 miners were due to carry out routine inspection. The only access was by a vertical ladder running down the shaft wall.
I'd gone to work in the morning and I'd felt a sort of premonition that something would happen that day. And in fact it did.
It upsets you tremendously. It's not a thing you want to happen to anybody. It's unbelievable. It was unbelievable that he was still alive.
It's not the case.
For a man to come back and go down in that mine after what happened to he, is a very brave man.
We all face the same hazards. We all face the same problems on a day-to-day basis. And I think as a result of this, it builds up a camaraderie that you very rarely find in any other industry.
You've got water leaking, you've got the downdraft like inside a wind tunnel. Winter time, you've got icicles hanging down. The conditions in the shaft is the sort of job that you don't hang around. If you hang around, you're shaken with a cold.
It is very dangerous, but if you're brought up in that sort of environment, you don't realise the danger. It's something that you normally get used to. That's something that grows in you.
It was a freezing January morning when three men began their weekly inspection of the service shaft, where they knew some work was needed.
Right. Well, this isn't looking too bad.
They were led by George Curtis, the underground manager, together with Bill Mutton, the shaft foreman, and Eddie Leake, the mine captain, all played here by actors.
What do you think, Eddie? Yeah, absolutely.
I reckon the problem's up above here, right?
Yeah, I know. I saw that last week. Right, well, I'm going to go up to the next level on the ladder, take a closer look. I want you two to follow behind in the cage, okay?
Right.
George said, okay, I'll go on ahead of you now. And he probably went up 30 feet while we made our way to the top of the cage.
George is right. You get his fire up?
Yeah, I'm sure it's up there somewhere. All right, let's go up.
There was no reason to believe that there'd be any problems as they made their way up to the next level. But today, a job George had done hundreds of times before would go wrong.
What was that?
Oh, that's George going through.
You better get down there.
Having fallen down the shaft, you never expect to find the person living again. It's a horrible feeling, horrible feeling.
My reaction then was, oh my God, he's gone. And I thought, well, we've got a horrible task now.
Even not knowing whether he was alive or dead, the obvious feeling is how quick can I get to him? And the cage doesn't actually go fast enough to get to him.
It was pitch black. They'd only their helmet lamps to spot him.
There he is. On that beam.
Good God. It's not the case.
To my surprise, he was lying across the service shaft on a barren timber.
It's in a bad way. And he's right on the edge.
He was moaning. My reaction then was to get there quick because I could see that he would have rolled over and gone again, which was over 1,000 feet.
I better try and get round. All right. Look, you go upstairs and see if you can get some. All right? Okay. Watch yourself, Bill. All right.
Eddie knew that one false move and Bill would fall too.
I think not only myself, I think Billy Mutton as well, were more than relieved that we heard just a moan from him. At least we knew he was alive.
Just keep still, you're right on the edge, all right?
While there's life, there's hope, always. If you term it a lot of luck, yes, an amazing piece of luck.
All right, George.
If he hadn't hit those planks, he could have gone right through to the bottom of the shaft.
My first reaction was to grab him.
All right, George. I got you, mate. All right.
Bill was balancing on a slippery beam 8 inches wide. There was a 1,000-foot drop below him.
I got you.
By leaning over George, I was leaning over open shaft. And the only thing I could see was a guardrail. He's not there as a rail put there that would hold any weight. It's just nailed on. And I wasn't secure by holding on to that. And a lethal movement from George would took the two of us. So for the first 10 minutes that I spent with George, it was the worst 10 minutes of my life.
Eddie's gone up for help, all right? Keep very still.
Within minutes, Eddie was on the surface to get help from Terry Mankey, leader of the mine's rescue team, also played by an actor.
Terry, there's been a bad accident. George has fallen down the shaft.
George?
George was a colleague and a friend. Obviously, I was very concerned for his overall safety, because I knew that at the end of the day, having fallen that far, that and it would take a miracle for him to be uninjured. And, you know, at that stage, I wasn't believing in miracles.
What stopped him falling the other 1,000 feet? Just a couple of beams. Bill's holding him at the moment.
Okay. You call the rescue team, I'll get the crash box.
Right.
My biggest worry then was if he fall off that timber, what am I going to tell him? I was more concerned with keeping he there at all costs, because how do you explain to men that you lost them?
In various mines throughout the country, there have been a number of fatalities in shafts. I have seen someone go from top to bottom, and it's not a very pleasant sight, obviously.
Meanwhile, Bill was surprised by how assertive George was being.
Your battery box.
Battery box, get it off.
Don't worry about that.
Get it off.
All right, mate.
I thought, well, the cocky bugger, he fell nearly 150 feet, and he's still telling me, giving me bloody orders. I thought, why don't you pass out, George, and give me a chance to secure it proper?
George? Fortunately, George did pass out, which at last allowed Bill to make himself safe.
As soon as I had got my safety belt fastened, and I could put some weight on that belt, I had 2 hands now that I could have kept them there.
God, am I glad to see you guys. Okay, Eddie, stay put. Bill, I'm coming over, all right?
When they did arrive and come across, my arms was dead. It was cold.
Okay, George. Took your head back.
The first thing was obviously to ensure the 3 major things. A, that he had a competent airway, a breathing function, a cardiac function.
Okay, George.
Then it was a top-to-toe survey to find the full extent of his injuries.
Let me give you something. Feel the pain.
He was given a jab to try and ease the intense pain that he was obviously suffering, bearing in mind the nature of his injuries. Because of the time factor, because of where we were, it was very difficult to get the relevant equipment to us, but we used, obviously, the better leg to splint the worst leg.
Put his arm across your chest.
And we used his own body as a splint and the appropriate bandages.
Got it? Just tie this off. And Bill, I want you and Eddie to change places and organise the stretcher, Bill.
The next problem was how they were going to move George onto a stretcher in such a confined space. There was no room to manoeuvre. The shaft was 6 feet by 10. And with all of the rescuers still balanced on narrow ledges, one slip by any of them would be fatal.
Keep it coming. Yeah. Okay. Foot round to Eddie.
Getting him on a stretcher was a major problem. The stretcher had to be initially handed across the gap to us. We had limited access to George. We had to lift him and get the stretcher under him. And the only room was literally where we were standing. We were virtually standing on where the stretcher had to be.
Are we ready? After 3. 1, 2, 3, lift!
So far, so good. But next came the most critical and dangerous part of the rescue. They'd have to manhandle George and the stretcher across the open shaft. They knew by now he had multiple injuries. Any movement at all could make them worse, but they had no choice.
1, 2, 3, lift! Gently, up we go, up we go.
Because of the situation we were in, we had to literally throw the rule book out of the window. We had to sling the stretcher across the shaft inside the cage because of the constraints of physical dimensions. The stretcher still had to be in a vertical situation until we eventually got to the surface. You know you're approaching the surface. The light changes, the atmosphere itself changes. So there's a feeling of relief that in the very near future you'll be handing on your casualty to professional ambulance service, who in turn will swiftly take him to hospital.
It had taken 2.5 hours to rescue George. He'd broken almost every bone in his body. His injuries were so severe, he spent 5.5 months in hospital. But 2 weeks after his release, he went back to work as a miner.
I suffered multiple fractures and dislocations to the body. The only limb that was unaffected was my right arm. I can remember climbing the ladder from 190 fathoms. And I remember something striking me at the back of the neck. The next thing I remember was that I was airborne. The thing that ran through my mind was that you've fallen, you've got to grab something. And just by the time I'd said that, I felt a bump and I came to rest.
Another 1,000 men could fall through that shaft over that distance, and they would never come out alive.
Every step that they took, they were putting themselves at risk. And now having to think about what they were doing to keep themselves safe, in addition to rescuing me. So they had a very tricky and difficult exercise. I've got to express my gratitude for them, the way that they performed.
The amazing part of the fall was that George landed on the timber that he ordered me to take out, which I left there because they was put there for a specific reason of the ground pressure on the side of the shaft. That was one of the miracles of my life. He was a miracle in the sense that George could fall in an open shaft and fall on a piece of timber which he wanted took out.
If you like your rescues, stay with people. We're about to tweak the nose of fear and pull the pants down on danger. No place for wimps. These are the amazing real-life rescues of those who dialed 999 next.
Like a small aeroplane, this enormous thing comes out of the water, dripping.
They may appear to be delicate as well as beautiful, but they are deadly hunters.
In conditions like this, life of any sort has to struggle to survive.
That takes your breath away.
Attenborough at 80, share his passion for the blue planet. All day tomorrow on UK TV documentary.
It's half-price Easter at our co-op. It's our Easter. It's our co-op.
What's the point of broadband? If you're not into downloading movies or music, and all you do is send the odd email, if you have the time to wait for files to download, maybe broadband isn't for you. But if you could get AOL broadband for just $14.99 a month for the first 6 months, what's the point of staying on dial-up? Call us now on 0800 200 6262.
Introducing the incredible oven glove from JML. This glove is different because it resists temperatures up to a massive 350 degrees. And with its comfortable 5-finger design, you have total control to pick up the most awkward objects. Don't risk dropping a hot dish ever again. The incredible oven glove is made from aramid, one of the world's most advanced heat-resistant materials. Here's the ultimate test. Watch how it protects while holding this scorching hot pipe. While stocks last, the incredible oven glove is just $9.99 at Woolworths, Boots, In-Store, Debenhams and Wilkinson's right now.
She has. He has. They really have. He hasn't. And of course, I have.
In garage doors, style has a name, Horman. Call free now on 0800 0199 333.
DL and Pascoe, an odd couple, but great coppers.
Ask him if he's a murderer.
And one of the BBC's most popular crime dramas.
I was waiting for you to tell me he's all right when you get to know him.
Nope, monster all the way through. Now the entire series of 36 episodes is yours to collect on feature-length DVD. Save nearly £20 on your first 3 DVDs. Call now on 0845 123 8005. Offer not available in any shop. Start collecting today. We'll send you the first 3 DVDs for just £9.99 plus post and packing, saving nearly £20. Then we'll send you the next DVD in the series every month for just £9.99 each, plus post and packing. Start collecting this superb set of classic crime dramas and save nearly £20 on your first 3 DVDs.
Young woman with a pram, asking for you. What? Oh, I lied about the pram.
Call now on 0845 123 8005.
It's 20% off time at B&Q, with 20% off all coloured emulsion, and that includes any colour from our clever mixing machine. Real deals, B&Q.
We can help you choose when and where you want to be treated. Call 0800 600 500. Bupa, feel better.
I'm Ty Pennington, and I love you guys. There really is no place like home. It's pretty emotional. The new series of Extreme Makeover Home Edition is here on UK TV Style. Premieres Easter Monday at 9. You can find UK TV Style at channel number 256.
Without you, we're nothing. We're UK TV people. Welcome.
This is the emergency.